All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Scars podcast. And I'm going to do better this time, Brett. I'm actually going to introduce you each time. Because this is your place. And it's an honor to be here. So we're under the roof of Warriors Rest Foundation with the fearless leader, Brett Key, former Highway Patrol, and always Superman.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
A little over-exaggeration.
Not really.
It's all right.
I mean, I saw you fly into the room. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
We have a couple of awesome Brazilians originally, but now Texans at heart.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna love their story. It's very deep. It can go shallow, it can go deep. They're like wherever you want to go, man. These guys can figure out how to take another man out in probably 4 different ways really quickly, but they always have a smile on their face. So, Tony and Yves, welcome to the Scars podcast. I can't wait to see where this thing goes. It's going to be exciting. And I know, Tony, you're a little shy of cameras, but they're not shy of you, buddy. You got that voice. You got that look. It's awesome. Yves, I believe, has a cooler beard, but I mean that's debatable too. They're really cool, both of them. So anyway,
the haircut's cooler.
I was just getting ready to say they got the right haircut.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. My beard will never get there.
Yeah.
So anyway, without further ado, again, thank you so much. I first just want to find out where did you guys grow up, and tell us about the childhood a little bit, and then how you guys met.
Right. Well, I grew up in the south of Brazil. It's in a city called Florianopolis. It's actually
That's a fun word to say.
Yeah.
And hard at the same time.
The nickname is Floripa. Okay. It's Florida with a P. So Floripa, it's easier. Floripa. Yeah, okay. Floripa. If you Google, if the guys that are watching us Google, it's a beautiful place. It's, I was lucky enough to be born and raised there. Obviously, Brazil, like the United States, a big country. You can be born in many different places, and that was a nice place. It's a beautiful town. Yves was 2 hours away, right?
2 hours away, yeah. At the time, it was a little bit more because the roads connecting our cities were called the death roads. And literally, people were dying, like in the hundreds every day.
But what? Like, what do you mean? It
was just bad infrastructure, that's what it was.
So potholes fall off the edge of the mountain.
Yeah, and then you have crazy semi-truck drivers driving on the wrong side, So we'll get into the whole Brazil spiel. But yeah, two hours north of Tony, a city called Joinville. It's actually a very German city. Up until today, you can order bread in German. In that, lots of my mom is blonde, blue eyes. Tony's mom is also European. It's a lot of influence, obviously from the Portuguese, but mostly from Italians and Germans. In where we're from, the south of Brazil, the very southern tip of Brazil. Yeah, so that's where we grew up. We didn't get to meet, and I think that's part of your question. We didn't get to meet until about 2000, year 2000. So
how
2025.
How old were you?
25 years ago. Yeah.
Well, how old were you when you met each other?
I was 19. 18 to 19, and he 1 year younger.
1 year younger,
yeah.
And it was jiu-jitsu, man.
Jiu-jitsu.
I remember.
Yeah.
So Tony's town was more developed with jiu-jitsu. So jiu-jitsu was mostly in Rio de Janeiro, and a lot of a few of the really good guys went to Florianopolis, where he's from, because it's a beautiful place. There's beaches and everything, but it's the capital of our state, and it got developed there. And where I'm from, it didn't get developed until, beginning of the 2000s, year 2000s. I was a white belt. One of his friends from Rio was teaching black belt in my town. He started basically jiu-jitsu in my town. And Tony came to visit.
But it didn't start till the 2000s.
Yes, and this is in Brazil where people think
I just thought everybody knew.
And you have the Gracies and the Machados that came here in the early 90s. But in my town there was no black belt until the year 99, 2000. Yeah. And that was Anjinho, and Tony came to spend I think a week. he was a purple belt, and I remember.
Fun fact, Anjinho, his nickname Little Angel, because he had, as a kid, blue eyes. He still had blue eyes, but he had hair, which he doesn't, like that.
That's right.
And he has the angel hair, like blonde. So Anjinho, Little Angel. Eduardo Baião, he's actually a deputy in California, Northern California.
Oh, he's an active deputy.
Deputy right now, yeah. He's obviously an American and nationalized American and a deputy there, yeah. He's been living in the U.S. I actually was the connection. I actually sent him, connect him to his first job in the U.S. with jiu-jitsu. And this is how, obviously, after the meeting Yves, and he's a deputy now, yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Interesting.
Actually, a couple of guys, Gabriel, also from Floripa, also from my hometown. Gabriel is also a deputy, LA sheriff. With the LA sheriff. Deco from Broken Arrow. He's
No kidding.
Detective Broken Arrow. Yep. Deco. Crazy, huh? Small, beautiful words.
So you met 19, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brought you together. Not. I shouldn't say about football, soccer, or things. Other sports.
So that's a funny thing. Yves is actually very talented. He doesn't really do it anymore, but I almost got a scholarship on soccer and stuff. He's very talented. His dad was
for university. Yeah, my dad was a professional.
His dad was a professional.
Player, soccer player.
Yeah. But it's kind of not exception, but I remember growing up, you either would do jiu-jitsu or soccer, or soccer is big, obviously, in Brazil. Sure. And I hate soccer. So if you hate soccer, you're definitely gonna do jiu-jitsu. Because if they mock you, they're not gonna mock you.
Right.
And I'm so glad, man. I understood that, and it was, and I saw it in my dad. My dad was a professional player, but he would never sit down and watch or cheer for any club, including the country.
Really?
Brazil, obviously, like the World Cup and stuff. People, man, everything stops. You have to shut down your business.
Oh,
during the World Cup. During the World Cup.
So they can watch legally. If you leave it open, you're gonna get a fine.
Because they're worried about
and we'll talk about the entrepreneurial stuff in Brazil.
Wow.
It goes like beyond what you can imagine. But anyways, and my dad was always like, I don't care, and so what was cool is he did it, right? He was a professional athlete, and everything else, the whole cheering and kind of like living vicariously through these people that don't give a crap about you. That's gonna be a challenge, man.
Hey, we're good. It is all good, man.
Don't give a crap about you. That was never part of, I guess, my football journey, but my soccer journey. But right away, I was like, man, I don't want any of this. This is actually one of the ailments of my culture. Mm-hmm.
It's hard to talk about because it's hard for you guys sometimes. Not hard. It's just different. There are some marks, some scars that we carry, obviously, scars. Mm-hmm. Almost like growing up as a kid in Brazil, if you don't have a soccer team, if you don't have a devotion, idolatry to a politician, a soccer team, man, you're being like the weirdo. What's going on?
Like an outcast.
Yeah, who's your dad? Who's your dad? Who's your they didn't tell you what to cheer for? And I'm like, no, they just told me to be good.
Wow.
Yeah, so you kind of rebel about it. You kind of like, man, which is a strong word. It's not. Just to say, but it's not. I hate soccer. It's because, man, it's like I dislike the meaning, the culture behind, which is, again, bread and circles, thousands of years of mental domination. And
Interesting. So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and forgive me, I'm going to have to tell a story because I just don't know if it's real or not. I'm assuming that it is. A good friend of my father's was into software sales, like security software sales, so for banks, things like that. And this was like the early 90s is when he was over there, and he was going back and forth to Brazil, talking to bankers and things like that. And he said it was pretty rough. I don't know exactly where he was at, so just forgive me. But he said it wasn't uncommon for them in between meetings, they might go to the beach, and this sounds really graphic, but there might be someone that's deceased, been shot in a wheelbarrow, a kid, and the police are just like wheeling them down the beach to go take care of them. It would be, there was a point where it got so alarming to them that their executives would come in to go meet with people, and they had a specific car that they had to get into, they had a specific driver they had to get into, and they were very very cautious of who they got in the car with, and they were demanded, don't wear jewelry, don't wear anything flashy. And so they had a young CEO and was very bravado, no worries. Got into a car they didn't know, had a nice watch on, had all these kind of things, and was driving, supposed to go to the Marriott, and he knew the direction, and they weren't going the direction of the Marriott. And he's like, hey, where are we going? And he pulls off on the side of the road, takes a 38, puts it on the back seat, and says, give me everything you have. He talked him out of his passport and a quarter so that he could make a phone call. And was that part of Brazil? All of Brazil? I don't know. And forgive me, but I
Yeah, so in the year 2001, I moved for a while, for 6 months, to New York City, because one of my dreams, my dream with Jiu-jitsu was to train with Renzo. We say Renzo is R, Renzo, but in Portuguese we pronounce like an H. The R in the beginning, it's like an H. Renzo Gracie, right? It's a well-known Jiu-jitsu MMA fighter with a huge lineage of champions, etc. And I want to train with him because my teacher, Leon, with R also, it was Renzo, very close friends, and they are cousins, and Helion was always Renzo's second during his professional fights. He was a Renzo trainer. So that connection is even more the fantasy. Man, I want to really train with Renzo. And I went. And to support myself, I was delivering food in this Italian restaurant, actually by World Trade Center, very close by, in 2001. So one day, we're hanging out in front of the restaurant, and this guy from Albania, this waiter from Albania that worked there, I didn't really like the guy, whatever. He's smoking a cigarette, but whatever. And we're having a talk, and he heard someone talking about Brazil, asking us, myself and my other friend who was Brazilian. And it's like, I like Brazil. You know, he came to the conversation like, I like Brazil. Cheap woman, cheap cocaine. That's what he said. Man, I remember, I'm like, what do you say? And he's like,
that was offensive.
Yeah, I'll get there, right?
Yeah.
So like, I'm 20 years old, right? I'm a jiu-jitsu purple belt. Back then, man, if you're a purple belt, you're like a god. You know, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
so
That's
like,
when I met him.
I'm going to get into that because absolutely.
So and like, what you say, man? And he repeated. And the second time he repeated, instead of getting me more mad, he actually got me like, okay, you know, I'm like, I just said, man, you should watch what you say, you know? And he didn't even acknowledge it. He turned his back and went. Sad thing is that years later, I would understand that guy. And I'm like, your country is known by that. Maybe it's because that's what we sell, you know? So he has been to Rio de Janeiro a couple of times. And probably the place you're talking about is Rio de Janeiro. Because the most famous city in Brazil. It's a beautiful city, but it's hell. You know, they joke, they say Hell de Janeiro. That's how they call Hell de Janeiro. But you know what, Chad, my brother, is like some of those things, right? If you don't make an effort to look differently, what you mad about what you look like? That's what you look like, you know? That's why sometimes I have these talks with friends of mine growing up. I'm like, man, don't do that because you look like what you are not. You're sabotaging yourself, you know? You're a good guy. So the country sometimes, you know, maybe there's a lot of truth behind that, you know, and it sucks.
And the same can be said for where we live now.
That's what I was saying, exactly.
It all depends on where you're at, what your circumstances and stuff are, and it's, I mean, we could probably go around the world and attach something or some stigma to a country that we're gonna talk about. I mean, there's always going to be something. So
you could pick up a newspaper in Philadelphia, anywhere, and read something like that. So I sort of tee up that question because 1993 happens, and I'm graduating high school, and thank you for answering that, by the way, because I know that was something we didn't talk about, but it was real. But I'm teeing up sort of this warrior mentality. 1993 happens, the Ultimate Fighting Championship we hear about. Van Damme in Bloodsport was just a little bit before that. The movie comes out.
Yep.
So all us teenagers are teed up going, man, I wonder who really would be the toughest art form out there, right? Who would be like karate, judo, you know, I had a uncle that was big into martial arts, Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee, the 1-inch punch, like who is the baddest, right? Whatever. Ultimate Fighting Championship. We're all glued to this thing. This little 180, 90 pound Hoist Gracie, right? And he comes out there for his first fight. Big guy. Like, oh, this is going to be pretty quick, you know? You guys know the story. Nope. He grapples for, I think it was, if all in was about at 45 minutes straight grappling, opponent after opponent after opponent, to come out the winner of that. And we were blown away. Like as kids, we were like, what is this? And who is this? And all these stories start coming out going, you don't want to mess with Brazilians because they are some of the toughest people. And so I bring that up to say, walk us through a little bit more of, you got to train with, I would say the godfather of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the Gracie family.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting, very interesting story. My dad was a judo guy. My dad was a police officer, a cop all his life, you know, worked with law enforcement, dedicated his life to that. He was a judo guy, but when he was doing judo, younger, as a kid, his mom, my grandmother, was telling him, you have to do jiu-jitsu, you know, because her
grandma knew about jiu-jitsu, but
because her family was from Rio. So in Rio de Janeiro, during the 1930s, 40s, 50s, the Gracies were one of the Gracies. We say Helio, the pronunciation in English, Helio Gracie was an idol. People were literally going to the movie theaters to watch his fights, right? Maracanã, probably one of the biggest stadiums in the world, was holding some of his fights, right? So my grandmother knew about it. My dad, we're in the South Brazil now. So outside Rio de Janeiro was an island, and that's way before internet and everything. So jiu-jitsu wasn't anywhere outside. So my dad did judo, which is the takedown aspect of jiu-jitsu. That's what judo is, actually.
It's basically standing.
It's basically the throws, which is beautiful, but it's guided towards a sport, Olympic sport. That's his story. Jigoro Kano, the founder of judo, was a jiu-jitsu master who adapted judo to become a sport, a national sport in Japan, export Japanese missionaries everywhere in the world, and eventually become an Olympic sport, where Japan would be dominating eventually, right? That's what ended up happening. But my grandmother knew the essence, which was, once again, jiu-jitsu. And she was mocking my dad, you should do jiu-jitsu. So when I was a kid and watched with my dad Bloodsport, which is 1988, I remember vividly. Man. Look, it's crazy. Walking outside of the theater with me and my brother, half far, like, man, Van Damme, and my dad, very calm with his mustache. This is BS, you know. Brazilians are the best in those no rules fighting. And that's before the first UFC, right? Yes. And I'm like, I remember the admiration, respect to my dad. He's the man I have the most admiration and respect I could imagine I would have to another man, right? But I honestly, guys, seriously, I was like, man, Dad's saying that just to make us feel better because you Brazilians, you know, we don't suck that bad. We are good at something. We're good at violence. Right. I didn't believe in him. Until, as you correct, you know, years later with the UFC, and I'm like, oh my God, Dad was right. Actually, pretty good at this stuff.
It was first really it's a true combat sport. I mean, it is every time you get on the mat, it's a fight. It's not going to karate. It's not going to kung fu. It is a fight.
Chad, exactly. So we will never, our generation is the last. We will never see that happening again. That I agree with you. We say sport, we say this, that. Yeah. That wasn't a sport. That was a fight.
Yeah.
How can you put a fight and television, you know, pay-per-view on
Oh, you mean the original?
UFC.
Yeah, no time limit.
Whatever before.
What was the 2 rules they had? You couldn't headbutt.
No eye gouging.
gouging, yeah.
I think whatever it's called, fishing.
Hook them. Yeah, you couldn't hook them.
That's it.
And you couldn't rack them. I think you had to
Probably
stay.
not. Yeah.
Well,
Not by
everything.
You know, that was the whole deal when that whole thing started. Is there was states that wouldn't allow them to come in and do it, right? And I don't know the specifics, but they've even talked about it in Oklahoma, which we're all about fighting and violence and all that stuff. I mean, most of us are good with it, but up in the Tulsa area, you know, they talked about that there would be matches and stuff like that, and they were under the cover of darkness. I mean, there wasn't anybody that was going to sanction it. No sporting group was going to sanction it. But man, because of what it was and the brutality of it, it grew and grew and grew and grew into the multi-bazillion dollar sport that it is now.
Exactly. So what wasn't happening in the U.S. yet until UFC 1 was happening in Brazil for decades already, since the 1920s, which was more in a form of challenge. Wasn't a UFC, but was a challenge. Oh, you think you're good? All right, let's try to sell some tickets and But before selling a ticket and making an event, there was probably hundreds of unofficial matches just out of honor and proving your whatever, your style, right? And that's when jiu-jitsu, we say here Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but in Brazil, obviously, we just say jiu-jitsu. That's where jiu-jitsu was becoming a big thing. And that's why my grandmother knew. My dad, even though he wants to train, he couldn't, because in the South, outside of Rio de Janeiro, you didn't have much jiu-jitsu. In the 80s, very, very rare. And I was lucky enough that when I was young, I could join jiu-jitsu, but I couldn't join the time that I want. And that's an interesting story. People don't know about this. So my dad in 1992, he was the state police academy director. That was one of his last official jobs, you know, before he retired with law enforcement. And during that class of, I explained kind of to you guys in another conversation we have a figure in Brazil that is kind of like a detective, that is the boss for the detectives. He has a different schooling. He goes to a lot of law school, anyway, he also does the police stuff, etc. So my dad was from that background. So during that academy, one of the Gracie brothers called Crawling Gracie, who just moved to my hometown, together with his brother, who ended up being my teacher, Leon Gracie, offered a demonstration. And my dad got that. Man, I'm going to say this. It's going to be, don't hunt me down, guys. We still have the tape. And my dad got his old school VHS and recorded the class. You guys, whoever's watching that have to understand, back on those times, a lot of mystery. You don't film, you don't take pictures.
You don't give up your technique and your...
It's kind of like that too. Yeah, your secret
your
or
edge.
whatever, your edge. It's so different than today.
Wow.
Today is all about pictures and videos. And, you know, no, it's the extreme opposite. Like, why you gonna record? Don't record this. So my dad started recording, and I'm a little 10, 11 years old kid. I'm watching, like, what is this, you know, going on? That's cool, you know. I already love martial arts. And the story I heard years later is that Crawling Gracie, the teacher, right, one of the Gracie masters, went to one guy, one of the bosses, and said, hey, tell him he can't record this. You know, this is a class. I'm going to be showing, you know, defensive tactic stuff for police. This is he cannot record. And the guy looked at the Gracie master and said, you go tell him I won. I won.
He knew he was.
Yeah.
The boss.
So yeah, he's like, bro, if you and the funny things are Crawling guy like, this guy's big and tough, and he's saying this, maybe I shouldn't.
And that was your pop, right?
Yeah, my pop, and I have the video. We still have the video, man. No one
That
ever
is
watched.
interesting. Like when you think about that, that's pretty. It's like that's it. I'm not going to put on, but I will put on a little bit. But like when Jesus came in to the in all the trade in the temple, and he was like, I'm done with this. Quit all this illegal trading. Get out of my temple. This is my Father's house. We should be worshiping here. And I always thought to myself, How did Jesus come in there and those are guys who have been traveling for miles and miles and nobody wanted to challenge that man. And that reminds me of that story right there. It's like, I don't know exactly who it is, but if this guy's afraid of him, I am definitely not going to be challenging him.
That's a true story. That's a funny story.
Yeah.
And
How did you get into jiu-jitsu?
Jiu-jitsu, yeah. So when it started, I mean, we had heard about it, and then we had a couple of friends that were training in bigger cities that had it already, and they would come back to the small town. It's not really small, actually. It's the state's largest city, but it was underdeveloped to like novelties and stuff like that. So, and I remember a good friend of ours who's actually the Oklahoma cop here in
Broken Arrow.
Broken Arrow, yeah. He would come back he was living in Curitiba, which is another big city. He would come down to where we were from. It's like empowered, like he had something. It's like, you guys are nothing. And because in jiu-jitsu, quite frankly, as you progress as a white belt to a blue belt, I think he had just gotten his blue belt back in those days.
That's probably the most dangerous. They always think they're I got to figure it out.
That's it. Like he felt like, he could take on, and he could, the truth is he could. If you don't know jiu-jitsu, it's a different story. Obviously then through friends, once it was available, I started training there. But shortly after, very shortly, I think matter of months, 8 months after, I moved to the US, and then I started training in California, Pacific Palisades at Hickson Gracie's school.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're both black belts.
Well, that's a good story. That's a very
Can we cut
interesting.
now? Or that's well, I'll tell you, Tony's been a black belt for over 20 years, okay? Well, let's go to my story. No, I'm not a black belt. I'm a brown belt. Funny, I got my blue belt in 2001, and there's a syndrome that happens to people that get the blue belt. And it was like I was saying, my friend, Deco comes down thinking that, hey, and you do know more than 90-some% of the population, but man, in the art of jiu-jitsu, you're like literally nothing, but you don't know that.
That's
right. You think you are, right? And okay, and then, so basically, whatever, put 100 excuses to the word, but I stopped for about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And in every night, and I would see all my friends, like with no exception, all my friends, real friends, were never stopped. They were all getting their black belts. And I'm still sleeping in my pillow thinking like, I'm not allowed to curse, but you're a P word.
Yep.
You don't do jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, and until I couldn't take it anymore. I mean, I'm like, okay, man, why am I still hearing these voices? Why am I doing nothing about it? And it just coincided that it was a time that I was in many different places in between when I stopped and when I came back. But I stopped in the U.S. and started again in the U.S., and that was probably about 2014. It was not 15 years. It was 13 to 14 years.
What does that?
Wow.
What does that do, like, for your mental? Did you feel like that 15 years there was something missing in your life?
That was the biggest piece that I would remember every single night. I'm not joking.
So you weren't getting razzed every night.
Every single night. I mean, I wouldn't lose sleep, but I would remind myself.
Your buddies weren't like just jabbing you every night about it.
No,
it was just something on your mind.
My friends are in different places of the world. They're doing their own thing, but they're continuing their path. And I just had full clarity that I was not continuing my path. And man, and when I say every night is every night, it's like, why don't I train jiu-jitsu? Why don't I train jiu-jitsu? There's no explanation, man. I didn't know that. All my friends, my buddies, the guys that
Self-inflicted.
Self-inflicted,
Yeah.
lazy, maybe. There's tons of, and then you question yourself, well, okay, what is it? Are you a coward? No, I don't think so. You're proving yourself that you're not. No.
And the funny thing is like, it's not. Of course, if we it's kind of a cliche. That is a thing they say, jiu-jitsu saved my life, right? I think you heard, like, it's a kind of cliche. It's like, man, anything that is a virtuous path will save your life, right? It put you in focus of doing something good for you, good for your family, good for your community. And that's why I understand that jiu-jitsu can be a life savior. So it's not specifically the jiu-jitsu thing, but of course we have some love to this discipline in a sense that build who we are. And him being young when he started, I think that's what make him being able to compare. Like, man, I started, I knew this was good for me. Why I'm not doing it?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you couldn't replace by other things, but you have the understanding. I think so.
100%, man.
Because we never talk about this, right? You guys,
Yeah, no,
it's
100%,
funny.
and-
We brothers from different mothers. We know each other forever, but some talks you live through it, but you don't talk. Yeah.
And then with something that is, it's hard. The journey of jiu-jitsu is hard. You have to have
there's
discipline.
injuries,
I'm not
there's all kinds
exaggerating
of
because
stuff.
it's also the best thing. So it's not, but anything that's external to that, you wouldn't know. You never stopped. But anything that's external, if you have any propensity to like, oh, I'll go another day, or I moved to a city, that doesn't happen. That's it. That's your excuse just to never do it again, man.
Yeah.
It's very easy if you don't, I mean, it's very hard to talk about those times now because it's been a long time, and it's very different from my mind right now.
Wow. Wow.
It's very different from my mind. It almost makes it like.
I feel like I'm
I'm
diving deep on this
Wow.
a little bit, but was there something going on, like were you wanting to kind of go on your own path somewhere, not isolate,
so
but
I'll tell you what it was. So I graduated from college in the States, and I was living in many different places in the world. And so I went first to Switzerland, and then to Canada, and then Hong Kong for 10 years. And those were moments that a lot of other things were being developed in my brain, and like different things, different cultures, that I truly lost track of reality, of the value that it had for me. That's what it was. And I wasn't doing anything bad to myself. I was never a guy that was into drugs or alcohol or, like bad habits. Never that. But that only shows that even when you know and you've felt it, it's if the environment or your own disposition to focus on something, if it all happens at the same time, you can lose track of what's most important of you, for you.
Yeah.
Including spirituality, right? So including God and all of that.
100%.
You lose track like that. And I'm just glad that it clicked back, and where I am right now, I'm happy, man, and I'm never gonna stop. And
we address that on different levels. So one of the things on the spirituality side of it is that it is spiritual warfare. So Satan will put little things into your life to redirect you away from something that's good from you, whether it be on the spiritual side, on the physical fitness side, on the whatever it is, right? And that'll guide you down a path that you're not necessarily supposed to be on, but there's always something missing, right? We talk about it with the first responders. For a lot of us, when we got into the line of work of a first responder, one of the questions we ask is like, okay, so what are your hobbies, right? What do you do to take care of yourself? Well, jiu-jitsu is one of those. Yes, there are certain things. I mean, our defensive tactics was based in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, but, so we did it for work, but there's another, like almost a healing, just being able to get out there on the mat and do that and have the physical exertion and the one-on-one competition and all that stuff. For a man's mind, that's big. Right? That keeps us sharp for multiple different reasons, whether it be to take care of ourselves, to take care of our families, take care of our kids, knowing that we have the ability to defend them if need be, right?
Absolutely.
But we talk about it on the first responder side, and we call it the I used to syndrome, right? So in the first responder world, it's very easy for a first responder to allow the job to define who they are. And once that starts happening, all the things that they do to take care of themselves go away, right? And I will ask them, so what do you do to take care of yourself, or what's your hobbies? And without fail, well, I used to do jiu-jitsu, or I used to hunt, or I used to fish. And it's the I used to syndrome. Well, in order to get back to where we need to be, both for work, but mostly for our family and for our kids, then we have to get rid of the I used to, and it needs to be, here's what I'm doing, right? And sometimes it is just a season in life that we go through, but it still doesn't mean that it doesn't take something but it doesn't take something from us, right?
100%.
And you laying in bed and every night questioning yourself, why do that? I mean, that's not uncommon for men to do.
No.
Whether it be with jiu-jitsu or something else, right?
And even though that presence is there and that certainty is there and that conviction, at least that a pretty good picture of the truth, whether it's good or not. The truth was that jiu-jitsu was good for me.
Yeah.
I knew that. But you can be reminded of it every day and still not do it. That's the message.
Yep.
Like, man, it's powerful stuff that only you can stop it, obviously, but only you can allow that to happen to yourself in the first place, So, I mean, obviously, I try with everything that I know brings me closer to the truth to never do that again.
Good. Yeah.
Oh, that's strong, yeah. I don't know any of those details. It's crazy, right? Because from the outside, I thought you were in complete peace with yourself, doing your things. Because Yves, it was very smart with business, very smart with the moves he made.
You guys could kick my ass. Well, not that you can't now, but you could kick my ass even more. It's like, never, that's that. No, and we joke about that, but it's not. Like, as a man, you want to have those tools, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, man, and your buddies, the guys that, man, you don't do things for them, but you do.
That's crazy.
You carry yourself differently.
Resound to your group, right? Yeah. Man, what are my actions? What am I resounding to my group? I know what they are. They're all men. They're black belts.
Well, I always saw what I practiced for a couple of years, and I was a 4-stripe white belt, almost got to my blue belt. And I remember the first couple times I went in to roll.
So you quit before the syndrome actually
exactly.
happened.
I didn't want to get to that. I didn't want to get to that. But it was just funny because like you could go to all your upper belts, purple, brown, black, and you could just see it in their eyes when it was time to go roll, and you were a white belt, young kid. They're okay, yeah, let's roll. And sure enough, I was that guy. I was a wrestler from high school. This guy was a purple belt, Dave McRae. I'll never forget it. And we're just rolling, and I think I'm about to get him, and then I don't. And I think I'm about to get him, and I don't. And finally, Dave just goes, "Stop! Just stop, please." He goes, "Listen, you're pretty decent. You got a decent base, but in no way are you ever going to tap me. Okay? It's not going to happen. I'll tell you what will happen. I'm going to defend myself, and when I do, you're probably going to get a dislocated joint. So can you just calm down and let's just flow and let's just learn." And that was one of the coolest things I ever heard. And to your point, it's not that you're training to become so I can go out on the street and just fight everybody. It's just that you feel there's a different. This is sometimes a wicked world, and if you can take care of yourself and your family, you should be ready to do that as a man. But you don't go out and look for it. And the higher the belt you get, the more calm you get. It's interesting.
Yeah.
My dad was to say, firearm, as we know, obviously, the famous Samuel Colt saying, right? Lincoln free the man, Colt make them equal. Yep. So my dad used to say a firearm is the most efficient tool to equalize force, and if there is some better tool, please let me know. I want to get it. But at the moment, carrying a firearm or being proficient with a firearm, so that feeling with your body, with jiu-jitsu, it's kind of what you're saying, it's like, it's good. It's okay. You feel good. Could be, as you said, could be some wrestling foundations, judo or any other martial arts, of course. We're talking about the martial art that revolutionized the world for a reason, right? So yeah, that feeling. So honestly, what Yves, the way he tortured himself, you didn't deserve that, man.
Yeah.
Come on, you got a blue belt at least.
That's right. That's funny. That's funny. I have one more question on that, and then we're gonna hit a quick break. But it's kind of that it comes off the question, we didn't talk about it earlier, but I do want to get you guys' opinion. I always see, even though I'll just say jiu-jitsu is a very combative art form, very effective, I'm starting to see more of this like bare-knuckle fighting. Yeah. And I watch it and I'm mildly interested to a point, and then I just kind of shut it off. Because I don't know if it's necessarily an art form, but it's more just like maybe guys that don't have a good father. I mean, like they're just trying to prove themselves that I can go out and fight somebody in the backyard. I don't.
Well, Well, that's actually a very interesting.
I mean, there's no
That's
belt
an interesting
system.
point.
There's like
I don't know
Well,
where this is going to go.
Yeah,
no,
I'll tell you
let's go.
this. I'll tell you this. I have a friend, a really good friend, Marcos. His father was actually my father's friend. Like, so we grew up training jiu-jitsu together, but he became very well known, Marcos, my friend Marcos, by his boxing coach. He's a very good boxer coach, you know. And I remember when the bare-knuckle sport started becoming a big thing, which was very recent, I say a few years ago.
yeah, not very long. Yeah.
And I did, you know, I didn't have much opinion, just like whatever. And I watched one video that he made, speaking of, and it's a big coincidence how your reasoning is very accurate. He's saying that boxing is also known as the noble art.
Yes.
So it's an art, you know, it's the beauty of, it's an art, right? And the bare knuckle removes that. You know, bare knuckle becomes a fight just for the fight, you know, just for the purpose of the fighting. That wasn't the purpose of jiu-jitsu when they came up with the first UFC. In fact, Helio Gracie, the old Gracie, picked the technically amongst the few of his really good sons, he picked the worst. Royce Gracie was the skinnier, you know,
Like 160 pound maybe?
he was.
Maybe not even that.
Helio, his father was super, like
40s.
140. But
Oh,
Royce,
wow.
Royce was, I think, Royce is tall. Royce is tall, 6'2". So Royce was 175, 170 when first UFC. And the recommendation to Royce was avoid, don't punch, don't do things like that. Try to make this an art, you know. Try to make, because the domination will shock the world. That's what's going to shock. So going against that principle, I understand decades later that people like action, sports, and everything with alcohol and, you know, wildness. I understand there is room for bare knuckle fighting now, and I know some guys that are actually good dudes that are doing well, but I tend to agree. You know, the art form's kind of forgotten, and it's more a show. And even be honest with you, even the modern MMA, UFC, etc., it's not about martial arts anymore. It's about high athlete, top athlete who has the better strategy for those rounds, whatever, and athleticism. And we're talking about an era. Again, if it's a sport, I understand. It is what it is.
It's entertainment too.
It's entertainment, but an era that we're never gonna see again. Before that, the first UFCs, man.
Yeah.
Studying your opponent. Are you kidding me? You have no idea who you're fighting. You have no idea. I might fight you first round, him the second. I don't know. There is no way to
You
train.
might fight a sumo guy that's
nothing to do.
280, 300
The
pounds.
same night, the sumo guy, this next guy's gonna be a world champion kickboxer. Are you kidding me? The guy punch you, rip your head off. So those times are gone, done.
Yeah.
So what we have now, it's sports.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, but yeah, sometimes a little extremism with, for instance, maybe bare knuckle. I agree with you. Yeah.
Well, at least you didn't bring up slap fighting.
Oh my God.
We're not going into that, but at some point you got to pull your man card.
My
Right?
goodness.
I mean, you lose your man card if you're slap fighting.
I for the love of God, I do not know what they're doing. Literally, I have no idea. I mean,
the point.
What is the point
The point
of-
that is defenseless.
yes, just I'm gonna hold my hands down,
It's
and you just
defenseless.
slap me as hard as you can.
Let's see, like what you can take, like a car hitting you.
You know,
my gosh.
I saw
I don't know.
something. I saw something that I was laughing so hard, but I see a point. I saw this weird the way they shape the ring is like inclined mats, and
Oh, I've seen
it's
that,
jiu-jitsu wearing suits. I was laughing so hard, but I'm like, maybe you're a lawyer or something. That makes sense. But
No, the
but
jiu-jitsu in the
slapping,
car thing.
but slapping, man.
No, the
Yeah.
slapping is nothing. Like
yeah.
you put your hands behind your back and
It's
like
you know what it reminds me of. We go to some indoor soccer. Well, you got football, you call it, and we would play our football, American football inside there. It was cold outside, but I remember one time we were leaving, and I looked over and I had to blink and check twice. It was literally walking soccer. You could not run. You had to walk. And these guys were just, I mean, it was like watching something in slow motion, like a car wreck going, I don't know what I'm watching here, but this doesn't look like a real sport. But they were walking soccer players.
It's to save
And that's
it's to save ACLs.
they're
all old
They
guys.
got to go to work on Monday.
They're
so
all
maybe they
old
got
guys.
something.
They know that one bad move and the whole knee goes out. So.
Okay.
All
yeah.
right.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to the second phase of our conversation today with these awesome dudes from Brazil, now living in the Lone Star state of Texas. So before we go into the next topic, I wanted to touch back on what you were talking about during that 15-year period of your life where you just kind of went to yourself a little bit. And I really want you to kind of delve into we talked about earlier, a little bit of isolation. And I know, Brett, you obviously can talk about this within the first responder area. So anyway, if you have a question directly to that, Brett, go right in.
No, we had talked off camera both before we started this and kind of at break, but kind of like Chess said, just kind of go into kind of where you were during that time when you stepped away from jiu-jitsu, kind of what was going on and
Yeah, like I said, no bad habits, apparently, right? Apparently, to what's commonly seen to society as a bad habit. There was none of that. But what's the point is, for whatever reason, whether I had been burned by people in the past or whatever, there is a point in life that I think we start contemplating what we said, isolation. And we think of that as a good thing, as a good tool. Oh, I don't want to deal with all this BS people that exist in my life. I don't want to deal, we know, the negative energy that they bring or whatever. I'm just going to go live my life. I don't do, I don't do bad to anybody. I don't harm anybody. So what's wrong with what I'm doing? The truth is, it's a bad decision. And that comes from Stoicism. If you read Stoicism, we are made with a good essence and to be social. We need to share what we know, and what we don't know, we need to learn from people. So if you isolate yourself, and we put a parenthesis here that, like, okay, if you go out and up in the mountains and you live off the land and off grid, and there's some examples in history that people were just doing that, and people went there to bother them, and that's not cool, right? But if you're doing that, that's one thing. But if you just isolate yourself with the comfort of with the comfort of your phone and eating what you want and ordering whatever from Amazon, man, that's not really isolation. And what you create is a reality that, in the end of the day, the hardship of being isolated, it's actually a comfort. And that's very easy to do. And very easy to, and you do it on your own terms. So you still think like, okay, but I got friends, but I only call them when I want. So it's my own terms. I'm not part of a group for real where they'll say things to me when they want for my growth. No, it's only on my terms and under my rules, right?
Do you think it's a form of narcissism?
Man, it can be, but I think it's a form of almost like a stupid self-defense mechanism, a defense mechanism that I think, I have to be careful with what I say, but a lot of defense mechanisms is actually because you don't want to deal with the realities of what you may be and what you may be feeling, and what these people that you only contact when you want, under your terms, are ready to tell you. So that's what I mean by like the defense sort of side of it. But I mean, it could be narcissism, but not really, man. I think it's just like, and then it's funny because the way it ended for me was very cool. So I was in Hong Kong for 10 years, working, have a company there. Still until today, it was a good period of my life. It was, I don't know if you're gonna touch up on the business side, but
sure, we will.
That was a cool period for that. Lots of learning, And then I eventually moved back. I met my wife, who's American, but I met her in Hong Kong. And we got married and wanted to have a family. And obviously, Hong Kong was not the place for us. Moved back to the States. And when I moved back to the States, and we didn't touch on the guns aspect of it. And eventually, you're going to get to Tony and all his history with that. But moving back to the States, I was like, man, now I can get my guns. Now I can do serious training. I've loved this. And, and I need to bring the best guy that's, my friend, a guy that whenever I felt like I contacted, I'll bring him over to my place.
Yep.
Man. So I brought this guy over to my place. And he was suddenly like this, what? Oh, you're training jiu-jitsu twice a week? How cute. Man, I cannot, Tony. No, he's like, oh, okay. Tell me, like, what else? Like, how cute, Yeah. And
how cute!
How cute! Yeah, no, you gotta be careful. There's a story from yesterday with how cute that we have to tell you off camera.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You can be on camera.
He's a bit of a loose cannon, this guy. But
you can be on camera, man.
I love this guy. Will go, man.
Yeah,
like you could. He's so funny.
Yeah, and somebody tried to flex some muscles in front of him.
Oh no!
He just had to.
Oh no!
He literally looked at the guy and
cute.
said, "Oh, you're very cute." And the guy just said like, "Oh, I hear you, man. I hear you." Literally, it was like that 3 times. And I'm like, man, I'm tired. I'm jet lagged. His daughter is with us.
Oh God!
And I'm like, what is going on? Anyways, I ended up telling the story on camera. But,
wait a minute. So this is I gotta ask him more questions.
No,
so you're going to the 7-Eleven and all of a
ready.
sudden you tell some guy he's cute because he.
No,
give me the story. This is too good.
I'll tell you my version. Then you get Yves' version as a clear, peaceful
That's the
witness.
guy that I brought to just training guns. Imagine how many aspects of my life were opened up as in like, hey, you want to hear the truth? If you want to hear the truth about anything, and like the naked truth.
Yeah.
The best guy, one of the best guys, or at least in my life, that I know is this guy, right?
Oh, he's a brother.
But man, it's never delivered in a nice way. And I think that's the point.
That is the point.
I think that's the point. It's bad.
But there is something to that. And it was like, and I was sitting here watching you, and we talked at break as Yves was talking about kind of what you were going through and not getting back into jiu-jitsu and stuff. And some of that was the first time that you had ever, even though you guys know a lot about each other, you didn't really know where that was, right? But there's something to that, and it goes back to the isolation part of it. And I want to hit on that real quick, and then we can move forward to the story if we want to. But it was, with first responders, the isolation that happens is a defense mechanism, right? And it's more not isolation of going up on the mountaintop, or for some it is, getting out in the woods. That's very short-lived. But the isolation happens when they walk through the back door at home, when they get off work. That's dangerous, right? That is something that is not dealt with. And it kind of goes along with, if you don't have the support system and you don't have the friendship and the people to tell you not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear, right? Mm-hmm. That's the only way that happens, whether it's a friend, whether it's a spouse, whether it's your older kids or whatever it is. But that's a real deal. That isolation side of it, on when life gets tough, and for first responders, when traumas and stuff stack up on you. We talked a little bit earlier, kind of our pre-planning and stuff about normally it's not a big event that gets us, that pushes us off into that isolation and stuff. It's the cumulative trauma, right? Whether it be from life as a civilian, or whether it be life and what you do at work as either as a veteran or first responder, whatever it is. And having that, you brought it up about where, we need socialization, right? We need to be around people. There's so many guys, and I've said it too. I am very content to a point of being out in the middle of nowhere, not being around people, right? It's not really isolation, but
No.
I've still got I can still
That
do
can
what
be decompressing.
yeah.
I think that's healthy.
Absolutely. It is, as long as it's not interfering with, the rest of your life and stuff like that. But that especially as men, we were meant to be in a foxhole together. We were meant to be together, and to have that group of men around us that will be honest with us and will tell us, and look, if you're in that group or if you're that friend and it comes to you and it's hard to hear, then you better be ready to take it. You better be ready to receive it, knowing that that is given through love, right?
Yeah.
To make us better men, to make us better dads. Same thing, with women and parent and jobs and parenting and different stuff like that. But I said thank you a while ago for being vulnerable. I don't know that that's necessarily what you came in here to talk about. But you willing to say, hey, look, this is kind of where I was. This is what I was doing. And it's that vulnerability and being able to talk like that, especially with a couple of strangers that you just met. That's a big deal. And that's overall with our first responders, our veterans, and even in the civilian world, we've got to have more of that. And we can't be judgmental when it's being told, and we need to sit and be good listeners and stuff. And that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. It's just not done enough.
Yeah.
Well, the mother of virtues is courage. And the reason we don't see that much is out of fear, right? So being the man that Yves is or became, the man that I admired, he was courageous and didn't fear being here with you guys and doesn't fear these being podcast, in a sense of,
I'm scared of what I said, man. And I was like, okay. No, but it was heartfelt. So yeah.
No, and that's it. We have
Brad.
Go ahead.
I obviously can name him and not see. I cannot say his job in anything specific because he's a dear brother of mine. He's still active duty with some of the special operations, and the most admirable special operation that this country built. And I'll tell you, man, the hardest thing sometimes for me as his brother and the brother that he considers me to be his is to get him to talk, And my wife is amazing. Her sensitiveness is incredible. And she always remind me, talk to him, call him, and this and that. But I hear you, brother. For some reason, it's so hard, and doesn't matter your background. Again, doesn't matter. It's so hard to face these talks and have them at least with someone that you trust. Why? You know?
I think it goes back to, within the first responder world, and really with everything. I think it was a generational deal. Like my granddad didn't talk hardly at all. A little bit better with my dad. I think that I've gotten a little bit better. I hope my boys are better. I mean, my boys and I have conversations now that my dad and I never had. And I think that I think a lot of it had to do with, there was just so much of that suck it up, life sucks, right? I mean, you're going to have to, okay, that's fine, but it doesn't mean that we have to continue to push it down. At some point, it's going to come back up. It looks like something different for everybody, right? But I just think one of our, kind of our mottos that we live on here at Warriors Rest is healing begins in courageous conversations. It takes courage to have those conversations, right? Mm-hmm. Even for us to approach one of our good friends and say,
both sides.
Hey, dude, come on, man. Tell me what's going on. I'm fine. I know you better than that. I can see it in your eyes. Tell me what's going on, right? Man, for some, like there are guys out there, and I keep saying men, I'm throwing women in there too. There are so many men out there that are just waiting to get asked that question.
Yeah, I agree.
They are waiting for somebody
the brother to come and check.
A brother just to check on them, right? I had a situation yesterday, as random as it gets, and I asked the gentleman how his day was going, and he's like, it's fine, and he walked off, and I'm like, okay, that wasn't it. And I followed him and said, hey, and man, next thing you know, we're in deep, right? And it's having the courage both to ask it and having the courage to say, yeah, you know what, it's okay not to be okay, right? Yep. It's just not okay to stay that way. Yep. And so anyway. Mm-hmm.
And I like what you said, the two ways, having the courage to ask as well.
Yeah.
Having the courage to actually, and that goes against the whole isolation thing.
Yeah.
Right? Man, not only are you perhaps inflicting damage on yourself by isolating, but you're inflicting on others as well.
Yeah.
Because you're not.
I was just thinking, but Yves, that's a great point. We think we're isolating and we're helping ourselves by not maybe burdening somebody, but it's almost worse than a death, because you know that your brother's out there, but he doesn't let you talk to them. You're hurting in a weird way. You're hurting those people that love you the most and just are like, come back, please come back. I'm not the same without you. And it's different than a death. If they're gone, they're gone. But you're still out there. You can still go talk to them, but they don't want to talk to you. That's tough.
And with us, and with me specifically, it was my family. I mean, it was my wife and kids that I was isolating from, right? And that did damage. I mean, again, my boys are older now and my girls are older, so we have conversations about that. But that affected them. That affected my wife, who didn't. I mean, I would come home pissed off and wouldn't talk to anybody or anything else, and because I wouldn't talk with her, there's times that I'm sure she thought that, okay, what have I done, right?
Yes.
And at a certain point, she's had enough, so she's not even going to ask. And now there's just huge disconnect. And again, that's not with just first responders. That's with, I think, men in general. I think we get in a bad habit of doing that. Of like, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah,
we don't want to be a burden, but man, it doesn't work out.
We don't want to be weak, right?
And we don't want to be weak.
Which is, I understand.
Yes.
It's the right thing.
Yeah.
It's the right mentality,
Yep.
right? We don't want to foment weakness, right? We want to.
Correct.
But in this case, it's got nothing to do with weakness.
Yeah.
It's facing what reality is,
Yeah.
how you're not dealing with it in the right way, right? Whether it's in isolation or whatnot, and understanding that you're not going to get the truth in the reality that you created, but from another perspective. And that's going to be a buddy. That's going to be your spiritual studies or your philosophical studies, whatever they are.
Yeah.
But they have to come. They have to come from a different point of view.
And it just seems to be worse in the first responder, veteran, SF, because there is a mentality there of I have to be tough. I have to do this myself, right? This is what I've been trained to do. Mentally, this is where I'm at. I don't want there to be a single crack in my mental toughness, and they feel like that's what it's going to lead to, right? And man, I think that's one of the reasons you have issues with suicide and first responder and veteran world, but just in men in general. There's so many every day that take their own life because they thought they were too tough.
Yep.
To have those conversations and
That's
stuff.
exactly right.
And we can't do that anymore.
Yep.
Well, I want to move on to, and we haven't talked about your father, but we have, and maybe he was just his father, a big part, obviously. And I'd like for you guys to talk about your father and how impactful he was on your life, but also the training facility that he brought, and just kind of tell us a little bit about that background.
Should I? Okay.
I can start because mine is it's going to be a lot shorter. And then, no, in the sense that my dad, he grew up in a very simple household, very, like in the lower sort of demographics. And I've studied physical education, became a professional soccer player, and ended up working professionally starting with my grandfather from my mother's side. So he had married my mom. Started working with my grandfather, who was, of German descent. Started like one little store that used to sell locks, deadbolts, and locks. That's what it was, with 9 partners. And he became a very competent businessman, and now has a company with more than 4,000 employees. The same company, and he's the sole owner of that. And
we have talked about this a little bit, and I know we're going to get. I almost want to save this for the entrepreneurial talk because it's so good.
Okay.
So if we can pause there, because that's a really good one.
Yeah.
But and one thing that I think is one of the most valuable lessons I've learned from my dad is he never allowed the truth to be bent or himself to be bent by governments or politicians or anything that would put stress while the company was growing. You'd imagine a lot of these people come. And he was actually completely appalled and never gave in to that. And in a country like Brazil,
Brazil is very hard.
when it's all of that is so normalized, right?
Yeah.
So that was a big takeaway that I had from my dad. Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. And I come from a large family tradition in firearms and military. My family tree, it's known for hundreds, actually a bit over 1,000 years. So my dad was actually the first that wasn't military, but was in law enforcement. And since early age, my dad was educated like everyone in my family in war education, the education for war, right? Even though we try to be good people and nice all the time, we can, but be prepared, right? That philosophy, the more modern times we like to compare to the samurai way of living, right? Live like ready. That very well known saying, it's better to be a warrior at a garden than a garden at war. Those stuff, it just with you. We don't talk about it. As a father, he doesn't tell me that. We just grew up, and he grew up in that philosophy. But unlike myself, my lineage is very intellectual. So
You're a pretty smart guy. Come on, give yourself some credit.
I'm kind of the black
You're a pretty
sheep.
cerebral guy.
He got hit in the head too many times.
Those judo throws, man, hit right on the map.
Oh man, the worst, worse than boxing. So actually, my two brothers are, PhD. The oldest professor, unique professor in his discipline. My middle brother is the one that is my partner in the Brazil business, also a professor. So my family comes from that intellectual lineage, even though my dad was a huge critique of institutions and systems and what the academy became. He was a deep critique of universities, the college and university that became a factory of robots instead of free thinkers, right? So actually, funny to say, he wouldn't care at all if I didn't go to school unless I was picking something valuable for my life and being productive, right? Anyway, because of the background, reading, not specifically the academia, just reading books and trying to, study philosophy. My dad was obviously ahead of his times as a law enforcement, as a police officer, right? So he was
From a technique standpoint and all the training.
He was so. I honestly, Chad, I asked him this again a few years ago. I look him in the eyes. I'm visiting him in Brazil, and Dad, how did you do? Come on. I have people every day ask me stuff, and they could Google, literally.
Yeah.
And they don't. You did that back in the books. Out of where did you find in a foreign language, or in English, usually? He said, for him, so simple, son. We have these American catalogs, and you pick some books and whatever, and you order on the mail. You pay like a mail
orders,
order, post orders. And imagine if you tell a guy, even like us, and if you tell a kid that you have to access information by doing that, they would say like, I don't want information. I don't care information, So I grew up with all those books, all those articles, magazines, and books. A big mentor was Colonel Jeff Cooper, a World War II veteran, the founder of the pistol modern techniques. Fantastic, unbelievable man. I recommend everyone to read his books, watch his speech. There are many on YouTube. They are awesome. He found the first private firearm school in the world called the Gun Sight in Arizona.
He founded it.
He founded, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, in the 70s. He found the sports of practical shooting. He found in 1970.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah, he found the sports of practical shooting. He's unbelievable. So that guy was a big mentor for my father with another. So for me, it was honestly, man, I tell Yves and all the guys, I say, was easy. I got the shortcut. right? So my dad was, for his times, and he had to work. You know, he has the job that he did in law enforcement in Brazil required a law degree, so he had to have a law degree. In between, he studied engineer, administration. I don't know how. I don't think he's left. You know, like
Yeah, where was the time?
how did you do? And another question made him recently, Dad, how did you do? And it's so awesome, man. He's just like, we're having dinner at my dad's house, and he's like, I don't know, son. I think your dad was just strong. And I'm like, so there was a moment in my life that
was he serious, or was he just kind of messing with you?
Serious.
He was seriously reflecting on it.
My dad,
He's just like, I don't know.
he's very bright. He's very genius, very wise, but very funny.
Yeah.
So sometimes you don't know if he's joking, right? At that time, at that moment, I think he was serious in a sense, like, son, I think you gotta do it.
You just do it.
Yeah. You know, if it's good, if it's something beautiful, it's good for your community, good, do it, right? Obviously, there is a portion, if you go deep with him, with his talks of regretting not being more with us, you know.
Oh, you think it?
Yes,
Sure.
it hurts him. It hurts him. But like you said, maybe men were just like, do it, you know. Yeah. We used to go to wars for few years.
Yep.
Wow.
Deployments were like few years.
Yeah.
You know what? That doesn't do well for you and your family, right? So it's not a war, like you said. You don't have to go physically to a battlefield, to a war in a different country, but it is a battlefield that a lot of men are struggling still. So these days, that's why we have, you know, warrior rest and all this support.
But he taught you, not you, because you didn't know. How often do you get to meet his dad, or do you talk with his dad much?
Later. No. I mean, much later, when I was already awakened to the whole self-defense. I had met Dr. Tim a few times, but never really got into it. But yeah, Tony was the one that actually introduced all his teachings. It was from Tony. But
well, one thing I look at, and I think per capita, you know, America probably has the highest gun ownership in the country. I would bet you, and I don't know the numbers on this, and I'm falling in this category, 10% of us actually get proficient with the weapon we carry.
Yeah, that is a bad and a good thing, I will tell you.
That's interesting.
There is a bad and a good thing. The good thing is no rights like that, right? Not natural rights, the right of self-defense with tools should come with rules.
With
rules.
Okay.
With regulations.
Right.
No, it's
not the Wild West.
That is a tool.
Yeah.
This tool makes me better. I have to have access. Number one. Whatever, if people would decide to learn to use that tool well or not, it's if it's a real right, if we're respecting those freedoms, we shouldn't care, right? Now you hurt me because your negligent use of a firearm, whatever. Man, that's gonna be a horrible penalty, of course. You know, we all agree as society, we agree, and that's where come whatever, you know, all the rights, right? And that's the laws that. A lot of them we agree, of course. And the other thing is, I found that in Texas huge, and for sure, Oklahoma, it's very similar, right? We're very similar here. That is like, it's a funny thing. It's like, oh, speaking about guns, that's cute, whatever. You know, we learned guns in high school or whatever. You know, my grandfather took me to hunt as a kid. So that's the cool part. The good part is that rights should be rights. Natural human rights should be respect no matter any condition. Because who's going to create those conditions? The government? Now he's going to say, no, you have to be a master in pistol to carry a gun. Like, who's going to tell me that? The guy that is not even a so-so shooter.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So you just can't. The second one, it's so common that people sometimes don't care. It's like, man, whatever. Yeah, I have a couple pieces. I have a gun. Yeah, sometimes I feel I carry a gun or something, right? the bad side, which is a personal decision, and that's why my dad found 38, the school.
Yep.
The bad and the bad side's like, I will die defending our rights, your right, anybody's right to carry a gun, to have a gun, to defend themselves, no matter, any regulations prior to have the right. You have the right, period, like our founding fathers describe very perfectly in the Second Amendment. I'll die defending that. But I will also die trying to educate people the importance of being proficient, so our school.
Is that why your dad started the school?
Yeah.
I want you to answer a couple of things. Number one, why did he start the school? And number two, how important was it for you guys to be trained self-defense by your father?
So when you come through, like, I'll put it this way: the son of a farmer he wasn't taught formally farming, It's not his dad, son, you're gonna be a farmer.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
It's a way of life.
It is there. It's just something, right? And my dad being the way that he is, the most. And man, it's crazy. We can go deeper into this, Sometimes I question if my dad, obviously, philosophically speaking, we are all conservatives, we believe in, obviously, God, family, country, our rights. But in a sense, also, he was very rebellious in a way of, he never imposed his will. So I literally could bet any way I wanted.
You could have walked away from
anything.
And he would have loved you just the same.
As long as it was a virtuous path.
Sure.
As long as something that I'm doing something to myself and always back to the universe, right? Back to this community. So wasn't any imposition. We're there. We all educated the same way. So we drill in the backyard some military stuff, going under the barbed wire or some stuff.
You had a course in your backyard?
Yeah, we had a course in my backyard. I don't know if you know that. I don't know
that
if
is
people know
awesome.
that.
Man, the visits to his place, or no,
the stories you come home with,
and he would have access to things like, man, we're playing paintball, right? So it's paintball, it's cool, but we would go in the middle of the jungle and make it this whole thing. It was fun, kids, teenagers.
Yeah,
has a real flashbang. Right? So, okay. And we're like, yeah. And we see a guy who is the Oklahoma cop guy.
Yeah.
We see him coming down. He was in the other team.
This is one of the funniest
three
stories.
against one. Easily we could have flanked him, No, let's throw a grenade on him. Why not? Man, Tony throws that thing. It hits a branch, comes back. Right. It was a smoke grenade, sorry, right? Or was it like... I think it was a flash... Man, all I know is I couldn't see, I couldn't breathe.
No.
The guy came around the corner and killed the three of us, It's like, man. Anyways, it was always like explosives and like... They used to make their own bullets, like molding the lead,
the actual casing and the lead, and
no, the casing,
the lead bullets, yeah. And and it was always something different, and it was a feeling of. It's funny. It's like, and in Brazil they were like in the forefront of all this gun thing, but guns were really bad in the light of society. Really bad. It's not even close to what it is here, And when you go like to their place and you see all those freedoms and like Tony said, like, yeah, there's guns everywhere. So what? Like what? That's when, as a friend, and I had little contact with Tony in that sense, like of being in his house and stuff. I did go, but it wasn't like every day. But man, it was like, this is cool. This is really cool. Yeah, I want this, how come my family's not like this?
Dad, that whole soccer playing thing was kind of cool. You ought to meet Tony's dad.
Like, man, yeah.
So
should have told me like
some of those man, you make me. I can, some of this stuff. I'm gonna tell one story or two maybe, but. I can laugh forever on my own, on my little world here, but maybe you guys find some of this funny. So my dad was working, right? Very busy man working. And when I was born, he was already in a boss position for the public safety safety system, and being a honest boss at that time in Brazil, and even worse now. I don't even know if that.
I think the operative word was honest.
I don't even know. I don't even know if that exists nowadays.
Wow.
You know, because
I'm gonna ask a question about that.
Yeah, what my dad told me as a kid is, my son, they all talk on TV about corruption, political corruption, this corruption. The corruption, the illegal activities is the easiest thing to battle. You investigate, prosecute, and punish. It's pretty easy. Corruption that affects people and destroys countries is not illegal activity. It's when you can use the system and be corrupt. So a lazy cop, for instance, you know, I didn't see that. You know, I don't, man. Even worse, the boss are the ones telling you, don't see that. Don't bring me trouble. And we start having a lot of that here in America, in the big cities, especially some states that, you know, we know how they are. So my dad was working unbelievable. I remember there was for 4 years, he had, when he was the boss for the state, for the, you know, the administrative side of the state. I remember he was coming back home 2 a.m., 3 a.m., sleeping 2-3 hours, going back to work. So during those times, I was already, between 8 to 12. We already know, I was the youngest, but we know, I have your oldest brother, he was teaching me some of the stuff, and we learned stuff like explosives, how to make explosives. So when my dad was away.
Not bad for an 8-year-old. Come on.
No. So when my dad was away, man, they were the most bizarre experiments you can imagine. Because
you had all the ingredients right there.
If dad taught you that this is the amount, you would try double first.
Why not? It's gonna be even more fun.
It's not a joke, and if you meet his brothers, you know, especially the middle brother, you're like, no man, this is crazy. And together with Tony, like nowadays, I don't really see you and your brother really like, you know, doing stuff together, but like putting those two energies together to do something bad is like, man, I'm out.
What's wrong?
I'm out.
Was it like your older brother saying, hey, he puts it together and then hands it to you and say, hey, you go see if this works.
That was something like that. But I have one quick story. Yeah, there are quite a few, but one quick story that you will remember. We are at that place we used to call Afghanistan, right? Afghanistan, because it looks like it's this desert.
Yeah.
So we're doing this paintball, whatever we're doing, right? And at that time, I'm already, man, I think 20. I'm old, right? So it's been so many years. I lost my hand with bombs, and I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do anymore. And we don't have the supplies at home anymore. So I still have a bunch of my great-grandfather black powder. I don't know if you remember details. God. So I grabbed that black powder. I put in a bag and something like, man, I'm going to build a bomb in the bag for the paintball game.
I wasn't in that one. That one was when Deco and
Deco brother, Ali, everyone. Yeah. So I got that. But this one I told everyone. I like, hey guys, let's do experiment here. It wasn't a secret thing. I kind of built the black powder bomb. And I forgot one very important detail, so don't do that at home. Don't do it at all, by the way. The detail is the line to
the fuse.
The fuse, right? I didn't have the proper fuse, so you build the fuse. The right way to do it is with white powder, with the propellant, with the chemical propellant, the modern powder, not the original black powder. I forgot the detail. And the mother powder, it's a slow burn. It's intended to be a slow burn. You know, actually, the chemical propellant is not even powder. We call powder, but it's not. It's a chemical propellant that we make bullets and everything for the last 100 years, whatever. It's very technical, and some are faster, some are slower, but most compared to black powder can explode. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
So I forgot the detail, very important, and I did the line with black powder.
Oh.
Bro, thank God, man. Thank God. Remember, we all having those new cool equipments, the hatch stuff? Remember the hatch glove? And I had the hatch Nomax?
Yeah.
And the paintball mask. Thank God, bro. And I'm like, guys, it's just for fun here. Let's see how this. The moment I put fire, it's one explosion. That's it. Boom!
The whole thing.
I look at my hands on fire. My hair, I had hair back then. And I look.
Oh my God.
And I'm rolling on. I'm on fire. I can imagine what these kids are looking at.
No,
what
it was
the
like
hell?
every time was like a surprise to like, man, like not only, okay, some of us probably like shot a gun here and there. I mean, this guy was competing like since he was 11 years old, so like just the gun thing is boring for them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the gun thing is like, it's exploding things. It's like, man, dangerous stuff. Like, and then when he got like to those hoist days and Jake and Chris like rappelling down buildings that were falling apart. I was like, no.
That's a good story to tell eventually. But before that, just all due respect to your main question. Let's get a bit serious again. So my dad got so pissed with the system in 1992. Yeah, he's over it. He's like, he doesn't tell us that, right? I'm a kid, whatever. Suddenly he retires. Suddenly, that's his life, his love. It's law enforcement. Everything he researched, study, his heart, everything, and he suddenly retired. Just before retiring, he set up the company 38. The idea was. And there's so many interesting stories that I learned old age that he never told me. Like acts of bravery that mother flower did, man. It's pure beauty, man. It's like, I can't believe that. And I learned from other people, Anyway, so he set up 38. He found 38 with the idea law enforcement in Brazil at that time, and it didn't change, right, was having very problematic infrastructure problems. They a lot of times didn't have range to train, bullets, whatever. And that's funny, that's beauty, but that kind of sucks for us, myself and my middle brother especially, because the older brother took a different path, moved away from, and went to the academia and all that, deep into that. So my dad found 38 in an appeal to supply what he was doing in the public sector to the private sector. So basically he spent his money. I'm not joking. His retirement, we all, we should have a more comfortable middle class, sometimes a little bit higher middle class, and went to low middle class, sometimes to not have, because he was putting money by targets and to teach for free now.
Law enforcement or public as well?
Everyone, but mostly law.
He believed in it that much that he's
law enforcement and law enforcement families. He believed that a law enforcement, like especially in a country like Brazil, if you're a cop, your family needs to know how to defend themselves. You're not going to be there all the time. So these law enforcement, some of these guys were coming with the whole family, and he was literally. I grew up watching my dad. Bullets in Brazil cost 5-10 times more than here. The price. Wow. I remember he gave him like 50 rounds, a box with this guy. No, take it, no problem. And we far from rich. And I'm like, that's the way you are. You don't know your dad's doing anything wrong. For me, that's what 38's not a business. 38's like whatever it is, right? So it took myself and my brother, man, a couple decades to figure out when my dad obviously stepped away eventually. And I look at my brother like, bro, you're gonna be poor forever, man. We need to make this.
No, you'd go in there and it was literally like, free. Everything was free. I'm like, why?
It's like he was running a nonprofit. It's like he was running a
nonprofit. With no donations.
But it was
that's
crazy.
the problem. That's the problem.
But man, like then
my dad never had a nice car. Never. And he loves car. Never had a nice car. So finally, eventually, after 10 years of 38, whatever, he had a good retirement. His career built him up a good retirement. And he was working again for the public sector, law enforcement, as a consultant. He was working. He was actually me, myself, my brother, my mom was being the accountant. We very family working there. Anyway, he buys this, for Brazil standards, nice truck. The truck lasts, I don't know, a year. Then he sold the truck to do renovations. And that was the way I grew up, So unlike Yves' father, who was very smart with business and, he had to make it work, the retirement that my dad had was actually his luxury to not be willing to make any money. He didn't care. That's how he was happy, you know. But not us. We kids, we need to make money. We need to make this happen one day. And there is beauty behind that, you know. I prefer that than the opposite, him being, you know, about obviously fooling people, selling things that are not worth it. Yeah.
But your dad was smart, and he started. I got a couple of questions, and one of them, I don't know if I know the truth on it, but I've heard the story. So he starts telling you, hey, listen, things are changing here. He got out of law enforcement for the reason.
Yep.
And then all the jokes aside about everything that you were doing as a kid was training you and the things that maybe even in America we didn't know, or some of us didn't know. You were doing it for fun, not knowing your dad was training you in firearms and bomb hand-to-hand combat. Maybe he knew about the bombs, didn't know about the bombs, but he had the ingredients there. He probably just grinned. He probably knew everything about it. And then Brazilian Jiu-jitsu. So 2 questions. What was your dad telling you about Brazil at the time of what he grew up with, what it was looking like to turn to, and was there an actual, I have the superhero idea that you were so awesome at what you did that the United States DOD said, we would love to have Tony come over here and help train some of our SF guys based on what he knows. And expound on that, talk about that as much as you can or can't.
Yeah. So growing up, my dad was cross-training with American Force, right? In the 80s, early 90s. That was he was here coming, train with law enforcement, tactics, administration, because that was his job at that time already. Like
he had the law degree as well.
Yeah, but my dad was, he believed that a leader, doesn't matter if you just, you know, like in law enforcement career here, we don't have that in Brazil. Law enforcement career, I don't care if you, lieutenant, a captain now, you were a patrol cop one day. You know the streets. And some will finish their career on the streets, like Brad, right? So my dad believed in that. You're only gonna know if you have 2 things, and it's best to have both. If you know for a fact, or you listen to the people you should be listening to. Unfortunately, leaderships in the public sector a lot of times don't do any of that. You know, they don't know and they don't listen. So my dad was also ahead of his times in that sense. So he was coming here, and that was always in my head, man, I want to go there. I want to see the things my dad see. I want to do especially the tactical, the hand-to-hand, the gun stuff. Because of jiu-jitsu, that opened so many doors in my life, amazingly, and the firearms education background, those 2 things combined together, I do not consider myself that at all, but somehow Americans are so humble. It's so beautiful. This country is so beautiful. This country is amazing. The best people, we will see that. The best people in whatever discipline, they usually the most humble, right? And so this tactical unit is from law enforcement to special operations, military units. They saw some value that I had because I combined those things, I believe. And maybe a hand-to-hand combat or whatever, even was just a jiu-jitsu class, would make more sense because we would be able to speak same language. And that obviously thanks to my grow up, you know, my dad. So it was him deliberately training me for that. Not for that outcome, but he was training me for life, and he fed me with the tools. Always the biggest support came from him, that welcomed myself into this country with unbelievable, man. I'll call for myself. I got red carpet in this country. It's like you know, I'm so grateful. I'm so I really can't. If I think about and I look behind, like, really, guys, I'm here because of this and that, and you guys believe I have something. It's crazy because the guys that I grew up, big fan, including, once again, law enforcement and the military, you know, were guys that, you know, I'm your biggest fan. Why you think you can learn something from me? Why you think I have something valuable, you know?
Did they perceive you as one of their own, one above them? Like, were they treating you with respect? And then what did What did you think their training was? Did you help? Like, did you feel like, oh, I added something to their training?
Yeah. So there are things I like not to talk because I'm
That's
not
fine.
one of those guys.
Yep.
You know, I don't see any value in talk about myself.
Okay.
So in that sense, in that matter, but yes, for a fact, I was influential in some curriculums that we have active right now for the special operations units. And I did very small. The reason I want to talk about in the sense of putting to myself is honestly because I did very small, very little portion. But I did. I helped something. And thanks to the American, here's the deal the Americans forget about sometimes, right? This country, this is unique, man. I mean, I'll start with this very interesting point. Brazil and the United States are the most similar countries in the world. Both countries are mainly European. Both countries had African slaves. Both countries had people from all over the world who immigrate and build this country, right? Same thing, Brazil and United States. Both countries are geographically very similar, big countries. Both countries are a federation of states. Nothing like that outside of America and Brazil, right? So these two countries were built with the same people and same beliefs, including spiritual beliefs. One of these countries went to a bad path, man, and that's Brazil. And the other, my heart was always America. Unfortunately, I see that might be going similar route, you know? It's just gonna take longer, but it might be going similar route. So with that said, these similarities make me see how Brazil, knowing America, coming here for the last decades and have this experience of training, finally moving for good, I'm saying, man, this is who Brazilians were. We are good people. We are like pretty humble people, and we wanna learn stuff. We wanna, guess what? Brazil rely now on talent. Talent doesn't mean S, you know? Talent you have or you don't have. Hard work and discipline makes your character. And that's America. So now you have a country that you might have some good fighters, yes, some good soccer players. Guess what? Put 200 million people play soccer, you're gonna get someone that is good, you know? Put like 50 million people doing some jiu-jitsu, yeah, someone's gonna be good, or some judo. Judo's big in Brazil also. So it's more about the amount or it's about the hard working? I don't know. So America taught me and still teach me is humbleness, devotion and dedication, and an open mind to learn. Americans learn from the enemies. You know, America win a war. We agree or don't agree, wars, it's another subject, but whatever, winning or, you know, beating up enemies and this and that, this guy's good, we hire them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
They work for us now.
Yeah,
that's right.
And I'll expand a little bit or kind of answer for Tony because he is unbelievably humble, right? But that is the mentality of the SF group, of law enforcement. Even I served on our TAC team and stuff. Is that we were willing to learn from anybody that might have more knowledge or skills than we did, right? Because if you feel like that you know it all and you do lose that humility, then you're going to be left behind, because there's always somebody else out there, even on the other side of it, of the people that you're with us that we're, you know, responding to. There's a lot of them that are learning. They're learning the exact same thing, right? So learning from somebody from like these guys that have a past and might know something that I don't, or a skill that I don't, that I'm not up to where I need to be. That's pretty easy for those groups of guys that we're talking about. It's pretty easy for us to do, right? And bring them in. And I mean, I've never attended a training, whether it be firearms or jiu-jitsu or tactical, that we didn't. I mean, there's some classes that weren't good classes, but there was always something that you can take out of it. Always, right? And that's the mentality of that group that these guys that they work with.
I like. Thank you, Brad, because you make it very clear what I'm trying. My admiration resides in that, you know, like being able to hang with these people and maybe learn so much more, but teach some little, and like, oh my God, man, these guys. That's why they're so good. That's why you guys are so good. That's why I consider myself right now. That's why we Americans, we are so good. When it comes to doing the professionalism, doing things the best we can do, and that feeling of it's the Dunning-Kruger, right? The more you know, the less you think you know. The less you know, the more you think you know. And that, here's the deal. What I take from that is if I've been doing for 30 plus years consistently jiu-jitsu, if I'm not in both disciplines. I'm not saying I'm that great or anything like that, but it's just time. I've been doing forever. If I've been shooting since I formulate my first thoughts, martial arts or shooting, including shooting, is something part of my family tradition. Since I walk, I should be able, especially because of my father, the guidance that I have, to teach you or anyone a shortcut. If I'm teaching the same road I had to go through, I'm not doing my service on this universe, to back to this planet. So what I always try to do to those units or whatever it is, could be an old lady literally trying to find some self-defense class, it's a path that is at least 2 to 5 times more efficient than the one I took.
You know where you got that? Your dad. Your dad allowing you to think for yourself, not be an authoritarian, but letting you figure it out for yourself. I see it in my son and me, both it's this way because I did it this way. But it's different. Why not allow your son to take what you built and make it better? I mean,
my dad with the freedoms is, man, I can't believe him, man, because at the same time, the most moral man I know, right? Never seen my dad drunk in my life. Never seen my dad abuse of anything. His behavior, his answers, his wiseness, until today impressed me so much, like how he knew it, how he was so ahead. But the freedom, the allowance of the free will, the God-given free will, Amen. In my dad structural, let's call homeschooling, wasn't technically homeschooling, but was. It's unbelievable, his vision. And he always said, with that, son, comes trouble. Freedoms are never safe. They're not completely safe. And that's how you learn, Today, we want everything safe, and we don't care having freedoms. It's the opposite.
I'd love to talk to your mom and just say, hey, the first thing when your husband walked in was, hey, do all of our kids still have their fingers and toes? Yeah. They still have all their fingers and toes, right? I mean, that had to be a good day for him, right? I mean, hey, did they?
So my mom is another funny thing. Quick on my mom. They are 11 siblings, Italian family, right?
Gracious.
She's one of the youngest, so you're not important at all. Yeah. We are only 3, and I wasn't important already. Imagine 11, right? So now I'll tell you this, man. People would think, and I grew up most of my life thinking that my dad is this tough guy, blah, blah, blah. Actually, my dad's pretty sensitive. He's pretty sweet.
It's my mom.
My mom, man. So, yeah, she was mad, but also pretty violent, too, man.
I can't imagine your mom just like, God, what was that? What, I mean,
the
house is shaking. I mean, they just blew something up in the basement, or, I mean, golly.
I'll give you guys one quick story that was a secret, not a secret, but I would say very personal from my mom and my dad. And when I moved permanently to America this time, finally for good, right? God bless again. Thank you, this country, the best place in the world. My mom gave me physically letters that she was writing, and she said, son, Mom wants you to have this. Your mom has some secret writings. It's basically your mom's story. And maybe you would one day, you would want to know, right? Would want to learn. And I'm like, whoa, that's strong, right? So thank you, Mom. And I read on the plane, right? On the plane, moving for good here, and I'm reading that. And so she tells the beginning when she was a kid, you know, and she's supposed to be a nun. She went to yeah, and whatever. That's her dream, and that's my nonna, my grandmother, my mom dream, and this and that, and for some reason didn't work out, whatever it is. Anyway, so she's telling her story, and anyway, she met my dad, and blah blah blah, and start getting serious, and you know, back in those days, all the holding hands first and everything, it's cute, and
that cute word again.
Yeah, that's in a good way.
It scares me. When he says cute, it scares me now.
No.
Telling you, man. It's like, okay, I'm getting ready here. Getting ready.
Defensive posture now.
It's a fight.
So my dad, at a certain part of that story, it's when they gonna get married. My dad proposed to her, and my dad said, I'm gonna ask you two things. Man, my dad's what, 26 years old, 25, right? My mom, 2 years younger. And my dad said, I want to ask you two things. One, the day we don't feel what we feel, the day we think that this is a contract, that we need to be here because of whatever, let's promise ourselves we want. We need to be happy, together or separate. That's the magic, man. That's a man completely in love with my mom, proposing. What did they? You know, I can't even imagine the sensitivity, and the freedoms again, right? We're not forced to this, and especially, you know, you as being a woman, very Catholic family, very strong foundation, extremely strong foundation. My nonna died literally coming down the church stairway.
Wow, she just kept going, kept moving.
Yeah. So number one, and number two, let's not have kids.
Really?
He told my mom, yeah.
A Catholic woman.
My dad
don't have kids.
My dad told my mom. Italian. My dad told my mom, and my mom.
But he said that because he knew it was either going to be like 20, but if he said don't have any, we'll probably have about 10.
Yeah, no, he said that, and my mom described in the letter what he said. He said this word is not what we wish, and it would be very hard to put kids in this world.
Oh.
If you feel one day that you want the motherhood, you want to feel it, we adopt. He told my mom, 25 years old, in love. My mom ended up tricking him, you know, and she got pregnant some years later with my older brother, and they tricky, whatever. They stopped because my mom wants a girl, and, you know, they mock me because they said, that's why you girly, because mom always wants a girl.
That's funny.
But my point with that story is, like, I don't know another man that is so to what we like to talk about liberties and freedoms. We love to. Everyone likes both extremes, both political sides or whatever. It's all about freedom. But I never seen someone that really practices what he preached, like father, you know, like we're not trapped to anything. And this world can be complicated, and we can do better if we follow some different paths, including the motherhood. He came up with that, right? If I agree or don't agree, I exist in this world because my mom, you know, actually...
She fought for you.
Yeah. So,
or tricked.
But it's just my example here is just how ahead of the way he was thinking, you know. That's my father, you know, it's a different man. Yeah.
So we're about to take a break, but I want to ask this question. When you talk to your dad today, is it almost like Groundhog Day for him through you, looking at what we really went through the last 5 years? I feel like we're getting a shift back the right way, but it got kind of sideways over the last 5 years of what we were doing in this country here. Does he see mirror of what he experienced as a kid in Brazil to what's sort of happening here? I know you may or may not be able to answer that question.
No, I went to back and forth with a lot of thoughts regarding that. And I think my dad kept himself very simple and clear when it comes to that. And I think the biggest lesson is I can touch you, brother. So I have some effect here, you know. That's what matters for me. Call me, I'm there, you know. Anything beyond that, I have no control. What can I do, right? we've been fighting for the same issues for thousands of years since Jesus.
I was going to say exact same thing. It's you know, no matter how bad the world gets, Jesus said basically two things: love your neighbor, speak my name.
Yep.
That's all we can do.
Yep.
Love your neighbor. Don't love the guy that's on the other side of the world that you're trying to do something about that you cannot, and you're not spending your time with your boy.
Oh, that's
right
so
next
good.
to you because you're worried about that other
That's
guy.
so good.
Your boy is your neighbor.
And it's
right
hard,
there.
you know. Now I've been putting.
That's so good. Yves.
So in 2000, in 2001, in Brazil, we have the election of the same guy that is the president right now, Lula, his nickname, which is our type of Obama type of guy, from the people. This nice guy, never from the people. I was aristocrat, you know, an ignorant, an idiot, but aristocrat, you know, in a sense of sponsored by all these big corporations and whatever. One year later, he comes up with behind the scenes on the 23rd of December. Politicians in Brazil don't work for the last, you know, this whole December, whole January, whole February, they do not work. It stopped completely. But some reason they got the Congress together behind the scenes, and on the 23rd, just before Christmas, they vote what they call, the nickname is disarming law. So Brazil went to a country a bit more similar to the US in regards to gun rights, to disarming, like no guns, this and this and that, right? Because of that, my dad was already preparing me. I don't know. I don't think deliberate. It's just the battle. The battle picks us. We don't pick the battle. God sent us where we should go.
Yes.
And I was young, man. I was a kid, and I'm going to these live TV debates. But because we speak the truth, at first I was so nervous and so this and that. But because we speak the truth, it's easy. They are the one lines, your opponents in that debate. And I was going to debates that was similar to this. Allegedly, it was going to be us two against you two and the mediator. When I get there, end up that he was also against me and the mediator.
Oh, wow.
So it was 3 against 1. And like 1 hour live, sometimes 50 minutes live on TV, man. And
I wish you guys could understand Portuguese for those. They're still out. They're still on YouTube. There's quite a few of them.
So this was official. You went into this.
Yeah,
he was in
times.
television. His father and him were in television in Brazil, like primetime TV. The debates about, you know, like
the gun
control
control,
and all that stuff. It was very interesting, man.
You know, public safety and anyway. So what I'm gonna get is just getting what I want to get today. The only social media I still have is Instagram, you know, and I moved to the United States, telling people about 6 years ago now permanently to here, right? And I tell people like, guys, if you like what we do, come to see us physically. Either in Brazil or here in Texas, we have our facilities. I'm going to disappear from this because this is unfortunately a tool that is a distracting tool. You know, I have no power. And it's funny, for instance, my followers are only diminishing for the last 6 years. You know, I never get more followers. I just get less. You know, I don't care. It's whatever you can call cancel, shadow. I will tell you this, there is only certain truth you can speak online. You know, if you really touch the core, you can speak the truth, but not the core. If you talk about the roots of why this is happening, oh man, it starts getting dangerous, especially in a country like Brazil, very dangerous. So I came here to the US at a moment in my life. All my life I want to live here for good, all my life. But when I came, it's because I had to. If I wanna, if I still, wanna speak what I wanna say, I need the First Amendment. You know, I really do. I came here because I had to. It's different, you know. But obviously, as I said again, with my heart was always here since I'm a kid, right? And thank God, America welcomed me. Thank God, man. And this is a beautiful, obviously, the best country in the world. But going back to the point. Other day I was having a talk with my wife, my dear wife, which is the only person I know that has no flaws, man. It's unbelievable. I don't know. Before my wife, I never thought of family. I would never have a family. I was in war. My life was war. battles, non-stop battles. And I'm like, it's impossible. If I have family, I'm fragile. If I have a
Yeah.
girlfriend that they know it's my
Yep.
girlfriend, I am fragile. That was my life, man. That was my
You
life.
lived a movie. What I would consider a movie, but it was real life for you.
Yeah. Bro. I lived. I never said this on air or whatever, but I don't care. It's nothing illegal. I lived sleeping in my small apartment 5 minutes from 38 Brazil. Man, you think this is healthy, man? For whatever it was, 5-10 years, with my AR next to me, a vest with whatever, 4-6 extra mags, helmet, whatever, not to fight thugs, to know that one day that door is the government will knocking at my door. And I have to make that decision where I want to go now. Man, that's like not even 30 years old to, 37, 8. Man, it's not good, man, That's not a life and nobody knew about it. And I can't tell my mom that, I can't tell my dad that, it's just the way you live, It's like, if you speak the truth, man, there is a big, big price to pay for it. So the conversation I had with my wife a couple of days ago was, I don't know, I still do this. Sometimes I still go on my Instagram, do some stuff, very rarely, but I still do. Both in Portuguese and English. Actually, recently this week, I did some stories, videos in Portuguese addressing a matter. And I told her, the only thing I want to do is to be by the fence talking to Debbie and Terry, the 70 years old neighbors that I love, I want to be talking about life. I want they raising my kids as their grandkids, and I'm here trapped to this. But my wife's so wise, I think if we can balance, there is value in doing that, and there is also beauty in doing that. Maybe I can help, maybe I can. She keeps saying, you have to tell your story in English. You have to tell your story to Americans need to hear that, And she's the most reserved person. She doesn't have social media at all. Right. She does the last thing she wants to expose me, but like a Christian, she wants to share what's beauty, what's truth is,
You say God has a mission for all of us.
Yeah. Very quick one. I was trying to do something. I went to a doctor who is a black belt regarding my knee. This is 2010 in Brazil. Just before that, I have an experience living in many different places because of jiu-jitsu, right? I started jiu-jitsu actually in China, crazy. Was 5 million expats in Shanghai. Americans were there like tons, you have maybe 1 million Americans there. So most of my students were actually U.S. nation Americans there in the beginning. Anyways, I was everywhere, and then I come back, and I'm very beat up. My body, my knees very beat up. And I went to this doctor who's a black belt, a friend of ours still today, a client and a friend. He wasn't doing orthopedics anymore. He went to a different direction, and that guy was so sensitive that during the talk, doctors, how doctors, they want to kick you out, give you some drug or surgery, and, I don't want to talk to you. He talked to me for like 20, 30 minutes. I'm like, he was a psychologist, he was a psychiatrist, he was whatever he was, a mentor, and he said that, man, for the first time he said, man, you don't understand the amount of people that come here to this office and admire your father's history. And you, man, you're just a kid, man, and they talk about you. God choose for you. You cannot run away from your mission, man. That's your mission, is to do what you do, to talk what you talk, and it doesn't matter how you try to isolate, and I have a knee problem, and the guy's like...
Yeah, you forgot what you even came in there for, but you came in there for what you needed to hear.
Yeah. So, not me, I'm not special. Every one of us have this God-given direction, and it's sad how the education system, mixing a little bit, but quick to finish, the education system treats every kid as equal, you have to be programmed to a job.
Robots.
And we are not, man. We're so naturally inclined to beauty.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right. Well, thank you for that. We're going to go to another break, and then we'll finish up our interview on the other side. All right, welcome back to the final session of this interview, and I want to start this off by a quick story when I first met you guys. And so this was about, I think, 3 months ago now, maybe closer to 4 months. Yeah, it's been a little bit.
More. It's got to be more than that.
Got to be more.
It's I don't know. It just time flies, right?
I'll tell you.
Yeah, maybe.
It can be that we're still in the honeymoon phase.
We just cuddled over in the corporate boardroom, though. So
That's
we're-
why.
I don't
That's
mind.
why it still feels so.
I
good,
don't mind
right?
still staying in it with you. I mean, that great beard of yours, and so
You're right. You're right. 4 months.
about 4 months.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna get I don't know, spiritual here or whatever, but. So I go to this ranch. I don't know you. I don't know you. I don't even know what this place is necessarily, but it looks pretty cool. There's a lot of firearms going on, a lot of aggressive things. I guess let's say that I'm looking at this like, what is this mock house over here? Oh, that's a clear house that we train people how to go in and clear a house out with flash bangs, things like that. Oh, that's our high powered. That's our, that's our 2-gun. And hey, let me introduce you to one of the owners out here. So up walks Yves with this awesome beard and this huge smile, ear to ear, and just the joy, abundant joy in his life. And I thought, man, he doesn't know me, and he doesn't know if I know how to handle a firearm, if I'm here to what I'm here to really even do. But he's welcoming me like he's known me forever, and I just felt the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, just come down on that planet. I looked up and I said, God, and I couldn't help myself. I was like, I got to tell you, I feel the Holy Spirit here. And you just immediately lit up even more. And we talked a little bit about that. And then I met Tony, same feel, like just this abundant joy. And thank you, brother, for being here, brother. And I'm thinking, man, this is what it must have felt like with the disciples, just meeting another brother in Christ. And I felt that. And my first question about that is, did that surprise you? Did that surprise you when you heard me when I say this?
I think I have a quick one, and then my quick one would be when I talk about my dad, and every day I talk about him. Yves know when the technical aspect, philosophical aspect, man, is part of who I am, and if someone is my brother, who I think he wants to be. When I talk about, it seems like he was preaching every day. No, I just told you guys how busy he was. So every not so great thing, you can take a beauty from that, because he wasn't there that much. Whenever he talked, oh my God, I want all from that. Mm-hmm. So when I talk about his lessons, seems like they were daily, and no, they may be like here and there, a quick speech on something. And one day I remember very well, it's like, son, this is just meat. This is perish, this is gone. There is something beyond, way beyond. And honestly, I think my dad's a mathematician. He loves math. If he wasn't law enforcement, he would be a engineer, some sort of engineer. He loved that. He studied engineering. And I think he maybe quantum physics, because he likes, obviously, connect to the divine creation. Yep. He liked to recall, to kind of like bring my attention to, this is gone. This is the limitation of how much we live is nothing.
That's right. It's exception if you think about it.
It's nothing.
Death is the norm. Where are you going for eternity?
And I remember he comparing us, and then planet Earth, and then the constellation. It's like, we are energy. So honestly, I don't want to be, I knew it, I'm cocky about it, but it doesn't surprise me, the feeling that we both had. We mutually had. Mm-hmm. Brad, it's a more, at first when we meet him, he's who he's saying he is. He's more like my brother Rafa, more selective, quiet, whatever this guy, let's see, right? It's part of who he is. It's like part of his personality. It's part of his genetics, but it's part of being law enforcement all his life. You have to be sweet to people, but careful. It's part of his, in a good way, self-defense mechanism. I'm prepared. But at the end of the day, man, we connect only because we had good talks and things that we share interest. Nah, man, it's gotta be something else, man. It's gotta be, it's a light. It's the divine creation. Mm-hmm. We are brothers, human brothers. And amongst this beautiful, big world, some people have similar frequencies And that's why 4 months feels like 4 years or 10 years or 20. I don't know. It just feels different, you know? I think so.
So in terms of the grin and the smile, I think one thing that I learned is you cannot waste the opportunity to meet a good person, regardless if you know for certain whether that person is or not good.
That's a great point.
But you have the courage, with the best that you have, in welcoming that person that the time it was at the ranch, but into your life, whether it's going to be for a few minutes that you're going to see that, this guy is not, or someone that, who knows, might stay with you for a very long time. You might exchange your teachings and your learnings and all of that. So I think that in terms of you saying about the Holy Spirit, that was, hey, I feel the Holy Spirit here. I think that it's probably one of the hardest things. So when I moved to the U.S., I came here to study theology, religion. I was a religion major.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was very interested in that. I was very interested. I actually did 2 years. I graduated with almost 200 credits. I think you needed like 120 because I switched like majors 3 times, so 4 times. I was a religion major, then I switched to philosophy, then sports medicine, and eventually got corrupted and did international business. That was it in the end. But all I'm saying is I was very interested in the study of not religions, and there's paths that people have in order to pursue a spiritual connection. Mine was Christianity. And when you think about what the Holy Spirit is, it's probably one of the hardest things that you can define of what it physically is, because it's not physical. It's metaphysical completely.
Yeah. Supernatural.
And it's supernatural. It's what's ever-changing constantly, but it's what is doing the direct connection.
That's right.
Between you and the divine. So the fact that you would say something like that, and regardless of how you were going to put it, but you put it in a way that I was like, that I actually take that as I would probably take it with a bigger smile, and then welcoming you even more, because you're bringing an aspect of something divine into just a normal encounter that we are having, which it wasn't. But so no, I guess it did surprise me in the sense of, look, okay, I like it. He's going deeper than the surface here, And but yeah, I'm not gonna get theological about the studies, but yeah, no, it surprised me in a good way. Yeah.
Well, what I didn't know, and you shared earlier, was there was a lot of attacks going on that day in terms of that event, and things are trying to stop you from having that event. I always feel like when it's divine, you're going to have a lot of obstacles getting in your way. But as King David, he just got better. He got sharper. But when you're putting that full armor of God on, it's not that you're not going to have those things come at you. You're just going to be better prepared for them, and you're not going to let them get in your way. But that to me was, you guys just could have been in an awful mood, but you weren't,
Yeah,
that's strength.
I would say we could have, and I'm not saying we as we getting old, we wanna obviously evolve and be better to ourselves and to people, to our community, right? But I made mistakes. I treat people the way I shouldn't, and I believe, thank God, most of the times I regret at a time that I could, say I'm sorry and fix it. So let's say that day is not that day, but the months that, throughout that day that we met were being very rough for us on some of our projects, and challenging for us, very challenging. And we had the excuse to maybe not, how can I describe that? Not be as nice as Yves was and I was. But like Yves was saying, what that would change? Not be open
That's
and
right.
sweet to you. What would that change? Usually the people, they are aggressive and not sweet to fellow brother, we all brothers, we all humans, are people with the problem resides in them, within.
It's that old adage of the people that hurt people hurt. I mean, it kind of sounds cliche, but it really
no, it is, and I mean, and we talked a little bit before that there are times in our lives, and especially if we are doing the right thing, that spiritual warfare that is a real deal, right? And it'll come at you from all different aspects, from personal to business to everything else. And all of us have walked through that. I've made a ton of mistakes, and by God's grace, I'm forgiven for those, and hopefully those that I've hurt along the way, that the forgiveness is there, and as me forgiving. So I love that point of view of what does it change, right? If we're mean or snippy or short or angry, it doesn't change anything that's happened. That's allowing something else to control us.
Exactly, perfect
Right?
said. Yeah, and if something else controlling us, we're not under control, obviously, and then we overreact. We do things that, and again, to Yves' point, I'm a big believer in that attitude. We are. Don't get me wrong, please, but we are educated to believe that long-term friendships matter more than short-term friendships.
That's right.
We tend to believe, this guy's my childhood friend. Guess what? Most of my childhood friends suck.
Yep.
And some of them I talk sometimes. I have to, and still like, man, honestly, I can meet a guy months ago that is more of aligned with my moral and my intellectual even principles, because it goes beyond moral. It goes being intelligent or dumb. It's like, man, your life is the same. I don't really necessarily believe you live a virtuous life, and you are my childhood friend. So what? So yes, time does this. I love you guys as my fellow human brothers. That's my attitude. Possibly, Chad, I'll tell you since day one, honestly. I immediately love you. You're my human brother. Time will tell me if I am spending my time with the right person or not, And so far, so good. Only getting better, this relationship, right? So it's not about necessarily if you met someone back in those days, Of course, there will be some people, possibly, people that we end up getting married or love that all those years only confirm, oh my God, what a perfect moment. And that was my high school sweetheart. You were lucky. I love those stories, man. This is my high school sweetheart. We have 5, 10 kids. I'm like, man, you lucky, beautiful,
Yeah.
For me, it took me 40 years, man, and that's it. Yeah, I found the most perfect woman I ever met. But again, it's not time. It's the connection, and it's a divine connection.
There are so many times, sorry, Chad. There are so many times that God puts people in our life during a season that we need those individuals, right? Sure. Whether it be personally, whether it be business-wise, whether it be whatever. And there is nothing wrong with that, right? We are paired at certain times with our lifetime partner. We are paired with our lifetime partner, but there are so many times that it's just a seasonal friendship, and they're good.
But I would say that it's if you're truly, I know this, if you truly have a connection through the Holy Spirit, you guys both understand that. It's a friendship that you may not see each other for 10 years.
Oh yeah.
And you'll pick it right back up if you see them in the airport, like you talked to them yesterday.
Yeah.
But it's because of that commonality of that divine connection.
Yes, we all know that, and that's beauty, right? 100% beauty. But what about recent relationships that you may sometimes feel the same way, or even stronger? Okay, let's go direct to what I write here quickly with my not as wise brain as my dear father would probably be able to explain, but because it's not the meat.
Yeah.
Time cannot describe how long we'll be in this universe. So this connection maybe is that we're encountering of this beautiful energy that is divine, we're divine creatures.
And even if that is finite, so even if it has an ending, because
because we don't know. But
you don't know. The guy was a really good friend for a certain period of time. You both exchanged really good things, right? And then the guy turns out to be whoever. You were not wrong in
having that time.
having that time.
That experience.
Yeah,
And
like
works with-
you choosing isolation and never meeting this guy. That's when
you're wrong. Yeah.
because this takes courage. This takes a decision as a man of being vulnerable to someone else. I mean, oh yeah, the guy's gonna betray me. Okay, then your solution is to just not talk to any human being.
Yeah. No.
Not connect, not learn, not grow.
My talks with some of our.
It's a fallacy. It's a very dangerous fallacy.
Yeah.
Just quick
It's a
one.
lie.
Quick one. Our talks with some really close friends that we have, right? Cross talking, but just exercising quickly here. I'll be the guy, never regretting, for meeting someone, and that someone turned out to be whatever you want to name it. Just for the instance here, traitor, and this and that, and blah blah blah. I'll be the guy never regretting for meeting, letting that person in my world, opening my doors, even my home. I never regret that. I don't get it the other way around of thinking. Then what do you want to do? You want to be, again, comes back to the understanding of freedoms, and safety. They don't walk together.
They don't.
They don't go
They don't
together.
coexist. I mean, they don't go together. That's right. Living in Brazil, living in America, going back and forth, I'm always curious, as you said, how similar we are, even with our faith. Do you see the modern day church in Brazil any different than the modern day church in America today? Because as I know through scripture that we will get to the church of Laodicean, which is the church of lukewarm Christians, and don't, as you say, speak the truth. Do you see any difference in the two countries in your point of view?
I will speak generally, and Yves can be very specific. He's good with that, and he will talk. But generally, right, there is a tendency in this world of fallacies, and it goes everywhere. The place we least expect, the most beautiful place, the God institutions. Why not? It reaches anywhere, right? When we believe that we are safe from the harm that these powerful entities beyond the God's institution on earth, obviously, not in the divine world. Our connection is direct. I connect my thing with God is every moment. My gratefulness, the way I'm blessed, we are blessed, right? But there is a game being played everywhere. So with that said, what I would maybe say, just risking before then, I know Yves has more because his family is very connected to a strong institution, Christianity institution, and it's very beautiful, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But my way of saying is this. If you want to see a bit of a hyperboles of what might be happening here, investigate Brazil. And unfortunately, mostly in a bad way. You're not gonna.
Brazil's almost a foreshadowing of what is to come.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
That's hard to hear.
I'll go into the church in just a second, but yeah, no, and we've had that sort of vision, just comparing the two. And Brazil is a much easier country to see how certain control systems, mass-wise, can be implemented. It's easier to do it there than in America, because in America there's still a lot of individual conviction to go against the flow. In Brazil, things have been toned down, dumbed down, softened down to the point that the individual is just driftwood, So it's much easier to implement there. And we have, and I'm not going to name it. Sometimes I feel like it, but it's no point. It doesn't make a difference. But we've gone to, very reputable sort of institutions that, supposedly are not politically connected, and they protect people's rights, and we try to really show them and trace that parallel of the two nations and how it is being done here. And if they wanted to ever use a case study, don't use Cuba, don't use Venezuela. It doesn't resound to the people because it's too extreme. Like, there's never going to be a Fidel Castro in the U.S. There's never going to be a Chavez in the U.S. It's going to be much milder. It's going to be much softer, much more subtle. It's going to be cloaked in so many things. It's not going to be easy for people to see because they're going to be blinded before they can see anything. And that's what happened. And we tried to explain all of those concepts to institutions that we ended up seeing that they were just politically connected. They were not interested in the truth. They were interested in just what they were doing. It's like, oh, okay, you're not a pretty face that's saying what we want to say. Okay, thank you very much. But anyways, we don't feel bad at all about that, other than seeing clarity on what institutions and governments and these things actually are.
I think
and now I'll go to the church.
Well, one of the biggest lies is what I think you're talking about is that you always hear, oh, you don't mix church and state, or you don't you just stick with your religion. Don't worry about the government, what they're doing. No, that's not true at all. Mm-hmm. Biblically, that's not true at all. I mean, all the biblical and Daniel, Joseph. I mean, all these guys were getting involved in politics. Yeah. Because what happens if you have a weak church, you have a bunch of robots. Because now you've detached that divine connection, you've disrupted it, so you're not an individual anymore that has a conviction in something that's bigger than you.
Yeah. The problem is that people, everything's by design, basically two options, extreme opposite directions, right? So when we talk about that, and that's biblical again, we're not talking about political parties. We're not talking about A or B. We talk about the science of politics. Politics is one of the most beautiful sciences, ancient Greek, Roman science, right? And politics is about the correlation between your community, your people, and what is best to these people. So some people are building ship, some people are farming, some people are being law enforcement, some people are structurizing that through a mutual agreement, bottoms up. The politics we know nowadays is never bottoms up. It's top down. Yeah. And that's not politics, or could be, but that I prefer to call tyranny. It's very different.
Yeah. So I'd like to go back to like what you're going to say about the church. And I think of the Apostle Paul when I think of this, like going around to the churches and saying, hey, what do you guys? Hey, you guys are screwing up. I'm trying to tell you guys how to do this.
I think it honestly, and I think everybody benefits from a community, a congregation, even if it's not divine. Okay, I'll get to the divine. So like a group of people that you can rely on and all of that. Now, when I see in Brazil, people are gathering, which is beautiful, around each other, around being good people, morals, and cemented on the divine, that should just make it all even stronger, that bond. And that divine element is corrupted, that's scary stuff, man. That's scary stuff. That's, I don't know, like if we talk about Satan, I cannot think of a more satanic thing to do than corrupting what is actually divine in church. It should be divine in a church.
In a practical, simple example, right? When we picture in the movies, who's the worst bad guy? Is the tyrant king? Is the corrupt cop?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we love law enforcement, love our cops. Now you have the corrupt cop. So when you use that people believe in that morality and the beauty of divine, which is the most beautiful. We are divine creatures, connect to the divine, right? It's just the problem in the city. People don't get that. They just walk in nature, just walk in nature.
Yeah.
It's just
But to that
such a
point,
beautiful.
Yeah, and
is
finishing that. So what's happening there, and I think it's happening kind of everywhere. It's all the divine concepts. It's almost like the world you live in, that you have to bring it back to yourself first. And you might be in a congregation in a church that you like, you enjoy, but it's almost from time to time you need to dial it down and like bring it to yourself. Like you bring your convictions back, because more often than not, and I'm not, I just find it hard, and that's when like I started having a little bit of trouble with institutions, even if church-wise.
Yeah.
There will be times that the humans are going to mess up something in there that could be
every
beyond,
time.
it's going to be way beyond what Jesus would do.
Yeah.
What is right in the eyes of morals, even if it's Greek morals or Roman law or whatever it is, it's going to be wrong. And the only backstop that you will have is your own studies, your own conviction, your own connection to the divine. So that's your safety net. And if you have that safety net really strong, then okay.
Yeah.
Then it's good. Then you should go to that church, but be ready, because there is going to be times that you're going to be like, oh man, how did this happen in here? Does that make sense to you?
Well,
what I'm saying?
it
doesn't put me off
Of course.
the idea of
course.
needing a congregation and needing your brothers
Well,
in Christ, because
Of
that's
course.
that's biblical.
it's
But
Brett, were you going to say
Yeah.
something?
No, it's
Kind of reminds me of the last podcast.
yeah, it's making sure that the focus is your personal relationship with God and not your personal relationship with the church.
Perfect.
Or
You
with
can't
the- or with
outsource
the
your
group,
relationship with
right?
God.
You can go to church and not have a relationship with
perfect.
God and feel like you're doing the right thing, right?
Yeah.
Just go to church on Sunday and say, "Hey, I'm a Christian. I got a relationship." It doesn't matter if that foundational relationship, that one-on-one relationship with God or with the divine is that. If that's not there, then all this is over here is just show, right?
Yes.
And I think big picture,
Smoke
I think
and
we've
shadows.
got a lot, and I think there's a lot of that going on.
Well,
if again, as the Bible teaches, salvation's within. What is not if saying it's you and God? Number one, and then you and God and congregation. What are you doing? So God first. I believe, in my understanding, was always that God first means you and God. God, family, country, or whatever the way sometimes we put it. But the beauty of that's you and God first. Okay, now you, God, and your church, of course, which is family. Some people don't have a family. Family is church, right?
Or it should be, yeah. That's the biblical conception of it.
It should be exactly. Sure. It's your family. Yes, exactly.
So I'm sure that you asked that question already knowing part of the answer, that it is, the church of the lukewarm. It's prophetic. It's prophesized that it was going to happen, right? And is it happening? I think yes. I would say so.
what's so bizarre when you look at the Book of Revelation of most of it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
But it's happening.
A
You
lot
can
of
see
it
it.
is happening.
We have access to the Bible more than ever before in the United States. We do. I would assume Brazil's pretty close to that. But we're more biblically illiterate than ever before. And so we go to a church on Sunday and someone asks the question, well, how do I know if what the pastor's saying is actually true? There's only one way. 1 John 2:27. I will teach you all things that you need to hear at the time that you're ready to hear them. I don't know exact scripture, but if you're not reading the Bible, if you're not biblically illiterate, then you can be lied to all the time.
And that goes back to that.
It goes back
responsibility
exactly
that you need to have yourself with that connection, that division.
exactly to what Brad brought up was perfect on spot. Yeah.
So you guys grew up in Brazil, and now you've raised families of your own. in America. What are you seeing the differences in how you guys grew up and now how you see your kids growing
Oh
up?
my God. I share with you without, oh my God, this for Catholic mom, it can be bad. I share with you some of my mom writings and let's say quote unquote secret. So that was my dad in the 70s, 1970s, right? That's his philosophy when it comes to family, like how such a big of a decision is to have kids in Brazil specifically, right there where we are. I don't know, maybe he was, but I grew up being his son, so I know how he was always very supportive and happy about myself moving permanently to the US, right? So that right there, I have 2 kids, wife and 2 kids. What do you think that means? You know, is that any other place to have my kids raised? You know, my family, my wife? No. If there was that, I would be there. So I am thankful to the way I was raised, because what I like maybe to believe, it's a belief, is that growing up in Brazil, the generation that I did, that I'm part of, not only in a sense surviving all the pressure, especially the brainwashing, which is huge, huge. Just to give you a brief idea, first year in high school in Brazil, you have to decide your professional career. First year in high school, you have to tell the government basically that I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be this, and that's for the next 10 years, you've been programmed.
You can't change it.
Wow.
Once you declare, you can't change.
Or you can, but you have to restart your whole education
Oh,
again.
wow.
Yeah. So your education is dictated on your first year in high school. In high school, it's all about memorizing for this big test to reach university, right? And then you get accepted immediately. You know, we don't have college. It's immediately your first year university is whatever your profession that you pick. If you make a mistake, you're delaying many years of your life. You know, maybe it could be 4 years, could be whatever, right? So just to give you an instance of how the system is. So going back to my point, surviving that, thanks to my father, thanks to my parents, but I'll be honest, credit to my father. He was amazing above, you know, surviving that, thanks to my father, and not being corrupt, forced by the system. Second, by the pleasures. As every kid, we're exposed to pleasures. We're exposed to drinking, drugs, party. And man, obviously, again, thanks to my father, thanks to my mom, thanks to jiu-jitsu, you know. I don't want to drink, man. I remember as a kid, like, what are you talking about drinking? I have to train tomorrow, you know, and that guy's going to kick my ass because he didn't drink. So it's kind of childish to put it that way, but honestly, guide me through the, you know, it's not bad if you having drinks or not, you know, if you do anything that like, you know, moderate, it's okay. I'm not judging here having beers or whatever. That's not my point. But I wasn't that guy. I want to be ready for the next day. So surviving that with all the examples around you of people falling to pleasures and they could not recover until this day, 40, 50, 60-year-old lost souls. People that got brainwashed at a level, my brother, Chad and Brad, that is hard.
It happened to your brother?
It's hard. No, like people in Brazil in general, it's hard to have intellectual conversation.
Oh,
nowadays.
okay. Wow.
Because they might be, sometimes whatever the system consider a great doctor, they might be a great doctor, whatever, a great surgeon, whatever the system, you know, whatever it is, a great doctor, a great surgeon, but they're dumb, idiots. You cannot, because the brain was kidnapped as a kid. And then to cope with that is drugs, you know, body drugs and pharmacological drugs. We put our health in the hands of the most drug addict people, doctors. Healthcare system, it's insane. Those professions are all, you know, not all, but a big part of that. And you know that from, you know, are beat up by whatever they do, you know, whatever the stress and whatever that it is. So to finish, growing up in that environment, surviving and being now, raising my family here, I think is ideal. Because there is not a day I don't put my head on a pillow before sleeping and I have the just man sleep, man. I have the best sleep. My sleeps are all deep. And when I wake up in the morning, I open my eyes and I'm grateful again with my praise, connect to the divine, connect to God, always connect to God. Knowing what I could be, the way that could have begun my path and didn't, man, that's the best way to appreciate every day and to be connect, right? To the divine creation. So in that instance, I kind of wish my kids have that. They will never have, because that's the beauty of America is always a problem. America, you can be very spoiled, you know, when you compare to other countries. Yeah. And my kids will be spoiled in that sense. So it's my job as a dad to look at my beautiful, almost 3 years old and now daughter, and when she falls, and I know that she fall pretty bad, but look at her first and say, get up, come to dad, and make she walk to me. It's a harder job because it breaks my heart. I want to immediately hug her, but I have to be very deliberate, careful, because she won't have what I naturally have growing up in a country like Brazil. Yeah.
Now you have a daughter graduating Baylor.
She already did.
Yeah. So did you train your kids personally on self-defense?
A little bit, but I think that's something. Well, my boy trains jiu-jitsu.
He does. Okay.
He trains, and
he's like 8.
He's 8. Yeah. But again, with her, it was very specific. Together with my wife, a few times on basic moves that I believe they need to know. You know, and with my son, zero forcing. I mean, those are things that you cannot. If you force, I think that's in the end of the day, man. That whole thing can just turn on you later. And what I don't want him to do, and that I'm gonna laugh now. I don't want him to take 15 years off of jiu-jitsu. So if he discovers it later in his life, or if he quits it now.
If dad did it, I can do it.
If he quits it now to do whatever at this age, and finds it later in his life where it's the concept of it just makes sense and it's never gonna leave him, beautiful. Yeah. I would go play baseball, go do whatever you want to do. Yeah. You know? And I think that and we see even in jiu-jitsu competitions, you know, some parents like, man, what the heck is wrong with you?
My
That's
God,
like,
man.
you know, like, man, you really
God.
think your kid is like a gladiator and you need to, like, man, relax, man. It's a kid. Yeah, technical skills, cool, awesome to see. Man, all power to that kid, but you expect that as an adult. You expect what you're expecting, that your emotions, your temperance is gone. Yeah. Because of your son is there in the mats, like, man, that's you've gone too far, you know. So yeah, with him, it's as long as he's having fun as a kid, enjoying it, great. With her, it was basically the basic you need to know as a woman, you know, how to defend yourself. But it was never something that, you know, I'm doing it.
I like to add something because might be obvious for us, but a lot of times I see that having people come into, so 38 in Brazil, it's quite big we have small company, but what I'm trying to say is we have sometimes happen like we have 100 new people a day there, you know, so it's very different than Texas. We're a baby. We just starting, you know, and we're doing a different business too. We're doing more premium stuff. We want to really create a brotherhood of selective men, and obviously women and families, right? That's funny when we say man nowadays, kind of weird, right? Men as humans, right? It was okay when we grew up. Was, you know, in the books, most wise men wrote like that. Man means man and woman. Man means, you know, in a sense of humans. But anyway, so a lot of these people, you know, if not majority, think that problems are solved, the solution of problems are viable. So for instance, I was a victim of an attempt or a violence, right? A crime or something. I buy a gun, solve my problem. That has nothing to do. A gun is the best tool, But the best tool without the attitude of owning the gun, it might not only not help you, but might actually put you in more trouble. So what you teach your kids mainly is not a reading curriculum. It's not throw the sponge or do this or do that, even though obviously can be. Obviously can be the technicality of what is an armbar. Again, as Yves perfectly described, if your kid is small, should be playful and not challenging a high performance matter like these crazy parents we see out there. But what you teach your kids is what, I'm not inventing anything. My dad always said this, my son, no one reinvents the wheel, right? We just borrow what works. And that's how my dad studies decades ago to policing in Brazil. He was borrowing from American law enforcement. That's it. He was learning from the best. So what we teach then is what Jeff Cooper, Colonel Cooper would call the combat mindset, the warrior mindset. That is what's gonna save your life. The use of a tool, of a gun, most of us, if you have an ordinary life in America, you're not gonna use any. Even in law enforcement, if you, depending how your situational awareness is, you can avoid a lot of trouble, The problem is when cops are called and trouble is happening, of course. But outside of trouble is happening already, most of the times, cops are having thousands of interactions without any violence, without a need to draw the gun, right? But it's useful for my 3-year-old daughter, my wife, soon to my son, still formulating his thoughts. It's useful for us, for old lady. It's the way we behave amongst the others. So we have always a big smile. We are happy people, but we know what is happening in our surroundings. Yep. How you teach that to people that can only, at best, buy in a strong emptiness, souls, society, and only that, you want to bring that to the simple matter, they're here, in this small computer that decades ago was unthinkable. And I'm here, and here I laugh, here I cry, here I buy, here. It's hard. It's very hard. So that was the mission of 38 with the foundation, and that was the mission. That is still the mission we intend to do with our group of people here.
Yeah, and it's not only Jeff Cooper. This is Socrates in Plato's Republic when he talks about the education of the guardians, right, the warriors, and how the little ones should be exposed to it. They would be exposed to the concept of it, which is the situational awareness kind of aspect, but that you should never expect that kid to take up the training that older people are taking or doing, or the techniques, or you don't expect. He is so careful in the description of the kid should come along, should see the example of the other ones, but should never be expected to behave or to act or to deliver results the way these guys are that have been training for so long, right?
And the problem is, I have to cut you here. And the problem, I'm sorry, very sorry for that. Very sorry for that. But the problem is our society and parents being fooled by this whatever corrupt social intellectual system. They learn to appreciate their result. It's for the glory, for the fame, or for the money. And nothing that you wanna go the opposite direction of the truth, chase money.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You wanna go the opposite of truth, chase fame. The truth doesn't reside there, right? So that's the thing that my dad said something when I was young, I didn't understand, and whatever, took me 40 years to get it. He said, everything you want to know, son, is being written 2,000 years ago. So, right.
Yep. That's great. That's great. Last question. You guys are both successful entrepreneurs, families, law enforcement family in correct me if I'm wrong, but your father essentially started what we would know as Lowe's or Home Depot in Brazil.
Yeah, I would say that mixed with, like a Dollar General. So it's a smaller sort of, it's a home improvement concept, but not as big, like not heavy building materials, but more like
It's a bigger
articles of daily use and
home improvement.
Home improvement.
in between would be in between,
In
right?
between,
Yeah.
in between, yeah.
So what advice would you give an entrepreneur? And then I'd like for you guys to end on what your vision is for 38 right now, and just kind of briefly say what are some 2 takeaways from entrepreneurship that you'd say,
Regardless of geographical location,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
just I would say, and that's a crazy one, and it goes just following what he was saying. I mean, do not put the real, let me reformulate that. Don't make the purpose, the final outcome of your business to be profit in terms of monetary profit, right? Don't make that. See the value. I'm not saying that it doesn't need to be. Well, a business is a business. In the end of the day, you need to be
You
on
have
the
to-
positive.
you have to be healthy,
exist.
yeah.
I understand that. You don't need to go to school to know that. And but if what you're doing doesn't lead to that monetary profit, but you were true to a concept, to a purpose, to something that is much higher than that, you never lost one single second of your time trying.
Yeah.
Not even a single second of your time. And you only grew.
Yeah.
And then, okay, off to another one where I'm going to do the exact same thing. And because, man, if you put the and I know from experience, man, good people that just put the bottom line as their purpose in life, man, while things are going well, they're doing good. When it doesn't, man, it just destroys them. So it's too brittle foundation for your life as an entrepreneur. So I guess that would be what I would say. Like, in a nutshell.
Good.
I don't take this as a financial business advice.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer, right? Ask Yves and Yves' family for that one. But it's kind of I cannot find I'm not gonna say humble or no humble, but a most correct way to put this down without using myself as an example. So I'm gonna use myself as an example, and I'm gonna say what I have to say, and hopefully my message it's okay. Most of my life, to not say throughout all my life, for some reason I have beliefs that inherit in my DNA, it's in my blood. I believe so. And again, once again, it's the divine connection we have, right? It's right here. We and God, anytime, right? We connect. So most of my life, all my life, I have a speech when I was broke. I had a speech when things start kind of working out. I had a speech when I was, man, we kind of a big deal, it's happening in a communist country, a hidden communist. It's the same. It's the same. So I prove my friends or whoever actually came to me and questioned my tactics, I proved then I was right without the need. I have no personal need or ego to be right. I could be completely wrong. But I'll tell you this. Yes, 38 went, I inherited from my father a company that, man, when we didn't have that, but paying rent was successful. We didn't have salary. We didn't make any money. We pay rent, we pay some of the costs. That's the company I inherited. To a company with over 2,000 members, in a communist country. We have people working for us north, south, east, west of Brazil. we are the company, we are the seal of quality to certify firearms instructors for the law enforcement in Brazil, a civilian company, certify law enforcement and military in Brazil, law enforcement instructors, with more than money, prestige, trust, after almost 4 decades, right? Because, man, after 4 decades, I believe you're going to show who you are, right? Eventually.
You should know
You
something.
should.
Yeah.
And maybe it could have failed. Maybe it could have failed when I start taking over, becoming, let's use the term CEO, right? When I became the guy without wanting it, like, oh, it just happened, you know, okay, no money, what are we gonna do? So it's not exactly it's not at all a financial advice or entrepreneurial advice in a sense, but it's, if I can say something, it's a deep life advice. Whatever philosophy you have and you believe, if it's walking together with the truth, and if your actions are virtuous, stick with it. It's gonna work out. Trust me. I never seen the opposite. The problem is when you chase objectives that navigate in the pleasure world. Money, for what? You know? One day everything's gonna be gone. No one's gonna no one's gonna remember who you were. They don't care your possessions. No one, who cares? Oh, he was so rich. And then what? It got so bad at a point that when someone is introduced to you as a wealthy person, you almost have like a prejudice, like, oh, okay, he's a dick. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it got that bad. It got that bad because, unfortunately, the system rewards those who chase that route. It's not unlikely that you're gonna open your Instagram and you're gonna see, without following that guy, some financial advisor will teach you how to be a billionaire. And I'm like, how, as a society, we got that low, that teaching finance conquers, or fame is considered virtuosity. You know, it's considered a worth path. I'll tell you this, my brother, Chad and Brad. If I fail the first year, the second, the third, the 10th, whatever, the 20th, or if I fail right now, bro, what is to fail? If I get broke financially, I rebuild that. I'm responsible enough. I have skills that will never be taken away from me. I paint walls. Whatever I do, I'll tell you this. Whatever I do, I'll find a need in society, my community. I'll cut grass. I'll do whatever, and I'll be the best.
Yep.
I'll put all my heart in that, you know, and I will support my family because I'm a responsible man, you know.
It's good.
Well,
That's good.
What a great interview. I mean, thanks so much for coming here, brothers. I don't know if you have any parting words, because
no, real quick. How do we find out about 38?
Oh, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Before I give that, I'm be a bit annoying, but I will ask you like a minute to. I reflect a lot last night, you know, before going to bed. I need to be good. I had a little bit of a tooth, pain, and it was annoying this week. And I'm like, I can't go be there so. You know, 2 incredible men that I had the honor to say, hey, guys, you want to come over? I like, what? Is this happening? Is this the life that I'm in the country that I pick for my family, to my kids to be raised? I'm in the best place. I have a connection with Oklahoma. We didn't talk about that. Strong connection way before Texas. I love this state. I've been coming here for over 15 years now, consistently. A lot of law enforcement working here regarding defensive tactics, a lot of work with Hoist Gracie and etc. here in Oklahoma State. I learned so much. I have such a big admiration. In my opinion, the best law enforcement professionals are from Oklahoma. The best law enforcement shooters are from Oklahoma. Texas has the fame, but sometimes, do we deserve the fame? I'm not sure, man, you know, because in some sort of specifically skill-wise, I admire so much this place, right? And now again, you guys want me to come, myself and Yves, and I'm like, man, I have to wake up, I have to be feeling good, I have to sleep well, I have to give at least try to level minimum requirements for the talk and for your time, for the hours that you guys are having us here all day. And I was like, wow, what a life, man, you know? And the challenge that God put us and the blast to get to meet you. And I would do this every day without camera, without recording. It's hard to describe. If you don't know this, I'm sorry, you know, whoever doesn't have this feeling in life, I pity, man, you're not living, you know. Life can be beautiful and great. So actually, thank you, you know, thank you so much. Thank you so much. To learn about 38, another opportunity you give us, right? Our US-based website, 38america.com, right? So you go on that website. We have an Instagram. It's kind of shy here, Rio 38 America. It's pretty shy, but we're trying to get it better, you know. And there are more things coming up, you know. We're going to have the expansion of 38 facilities with some stuff that we are already working on there at 38 Ranch. We call 38 Farms Academy, our facility that you know. And also with the expansion of the love, passion for martial arts, we also open our first North Texas Jiu-jitsu school close to my house where I live now, North Texas, very close to you guys.
Let's get that blue belt, man.
You need to get back up to that.
Yeah, 2 years.
I'm this close.
Come on, so close. And if you're curious, you know, there is the Brazilian side, but it's going to be in Portuguese. But just to finalize, in Brazil, we pioneer on something. I'm not saying we invent anything, but for Brazil, we are pioneering a lot of methods regarding firearms training. So a lot of what we did, maybe that's why we got successful in a country that politically, government-wise, hates guns, controls guns. It's very hard to buy a gun. It's very hard to do anything guns-wise in Brazil. And we still there, right? Not only surviving, but growing. We have an online platform. It's called Firearms University, 38 Firearms University. It's in Portuguese only. And that's one of our projects. So I'll tell you this, man. My heart's feelings towards Brazil are at a point. My wife is American. My dear wife. My kids are fully American, obviously. I wish I didn't have to speak Portuguese anymore.
Oh, wow.
I wish. But I have to. And again, the only thing at this moment that can change tomorrow what I believe it is, but at this moment, the conversation that I rarely, but sometimes I have to bother my wife because she's a very wise woman, is God's call, you know, and God's call, I still have to speak Portuguese, so I still have to do a lot of things in Portuguese, and this Firearms University thing, it has nothing to do with how to pull a trigger. It's to touch people's souls and minds and maybe awake a people that is being dark, man. I would say that maybe I have a dream that I want to see that people, my original people, outside of darkness, outside of that terrible cave. And the cave that no government's to blame, no one's to blame but you. You allow yourself to be into darkness, you know. We can never be slaves of our beliefs and thoughts in our mind. We always will be free, no matter if we're behind bars. And that was... And my dad was very worried about my battles, and he was already recommending, go away, go to the US, you know, go where people... My dad said this, Brad, son, it's like almost 13 years ago, everything you fight for, the rights you fight for, and the things you say, and the things you expose yourself, you fight for rights that you have. And doesn't matter if a paper will tell you to have or not, you will have. You fight for people that don't give a damn. They don't care. Ooh. Go fight for who is worth it. That's what he told me. Yeah. And I came here for that, right? Back then I said, Dad, don't worry. When I feel that I have to, I'm the first one. I take the first plane, you know. But yeah, there is a God call that it also connects me to the Portuguese language, the Brazil, and let's see. keep running some of that. So if you follow us or follow myself personally on Instagram, you might see that it's still a lot of Portuguese going on, a lot of, not trying to be ungrateful. I love the opportunities that also the people of that country, not the country as a political institution, but the people of that country gave me and still give me. But they are in the dark, man. They are in the dark. And that's what I love about America. We can find enlightened people more easily here.
Well, it makes it. I promise this conversation, the one biggest takeaway that I've gotten from it is in our church, we're very, very much prayer warriors. We're prophetic in the way we teach. We teach the Bible, and we will be praying for Brazil. I had no idea kind of some of the things that I've learned today. So
thank you.
Thank you, guys. Yves, do you have anything like you'd like to?
No, I second everything that he says, obviously, and those are powerful words, and let those stay with us. But thank you. Now, look in your eye. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you, Brad. Love what you guys are doing here. That's something that we know. You guys are not looking at any bottom lines, and you're doing it with purpose every step of the way. So if there's anything that we could help you guys, just let us know. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening to this podcast. If you're a veteran, first responder, you got a story, email us. We'd love to hear it from you. So anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.